going on, people? Welcome to the stream. Okay. So, here we go. Here we find ourselves once again covering some pretty major drama. And I call this pretty major drama because I'm noticing... Can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me? Are we on? Yes! Okay, we're on. I'm sorry. I'm just like confirming. I don't know. Something changed with the OBS structure recently that sometimes interferes with YouTube, but I'm glad to see it's working fine today. Anyway, yeah, this is gonna be some drama, okay? And I say that because there's kind of no incentive for either of these creators to back down, right? And I'm talking about Aristocracy TV and BadEmpanada, right? They have found each other, and they are going to get some drama out of this, right? And you know who else hates BadEmpanada? Vaush. Vaush hates BadEmpanada. So it's like Vaush wanted to get, like, you know, get in on this action, and that's exactly what's happening. Vaush is getting in on the action. Vaush wants a part of this, okay? And you know that's both parts. Okay, so you could look at this in different ways. One model, they're friends. They hit it off. They like each other, right? And even though there's some real ideological difference, ostensibly, right? Between these two creators, they just have a personal, you know, your friendship, right? And so that's why it is. The other one is like a transactional, right? You know, it's a kind of thing where, like, if Vaush is in trouble, Eris will defend Vaush. If Eris is in trouble, you know, there's a little bit of that too, right? And it's hard to know which is which. Why, you know, Caleb often hates BadEmpanada too, so I think that's a good thing. Yeah, no, definitely. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Is like you'd think that, oh no, here comes Vaush, now BadEmpanada's in trouble, but maybe not so much. Maybe not. Why is I feel like OBS is slow walking my chat. Like I see it moving faster over here than it is over here. It's distracting. Anyway, so yeah, there's basically, in the old days, if you got blown up by Vaush, it was just a lot of Vaush stands, like, you know, coming after you, right? Nowadays, if you get in a fight with Vaush, people will follow you because of that, right? Being hated by Vaush, being in beefs with Vaush, being on the opposite sides of things with Vaush, that is considered by a lot of people a good thing. In fact, I would say that at this point, Vaush's anti-fans are as numerous as his fans. So BadEmpanada has got nothing to lose from going after Vaush, going after Eris, going full speed ahead, and he's into it, a little too into it, right? Because, I mean, there's some things that, like, you know, I feel like, I mean, you know that, like, I am on the political side of things, on BadEmpanada's side of the issue, but I feel like, and you're gonna see this, that, like, some of the ways that BadEmpanada said things are, like, just, like, a little too close to, you know, some tropes. And you know, does that mean that BadEmpanada did that on purpose? I don't think so, right? I don't think that's what happened. But you've got to be cognizant of that, right? Because it's hard for a person who's had tropes used against them to know the difference between somebody who's, like, you know, just happens to say something and you know, and I don't know. And it's a weird thing. It is a kind of a sticky issue here, right? But that's the other reason I think that this drama is going on, because Eris has got a lot of points to hit back, right? And they're going to go after each other, right? And they're going to dig their claws in. That's what's going on. So let me see. I think we'll start off with BadEmpanada's video. The new Bond is interesting. Oh, the new James Bond. Wait, what is going on with chat? Did you... Oh my god, chat is so weird. I don't know, chat. It's probably not your fault. It's probably my fault. It's probably my computer or something. Everything's weird. There we go. So basically the context of this is this. BadEmpanada's been hitting Eris for a long time over, kind of getting a little excited, celebrating Canada Day, maybe, looking over some of the not so great things that Canada's done. And then, on this video of the history of the, Israel-Palestine, basically, and that's been going on, right? That's and then I guess the latest one is like backtracking on what she said on that video, right? And so Eris did a response stream for a long time. I guess Eris had just tried to ignore it, and at some point she decided, nope, I'm gonna do a response, and that was, I think, this last Friday. We're not going to watch that because we don't have time for it, but here is, because I'm going to watch something from each side. So here's BadEmpanada talking about that stream that Eris did, right, and showing us a little bit from it. And then after that, we're going to see Eris talk to Vaush. So that's what I meant when I said, Vaush is in this. Vaush is platformed Eris for like an hour. Mainly to talk about the BadEmpanada situation. So yeah, they're
Palestinians cannot be allowed to return to their land that they had lived on for generations previously, that was stolen from them.
Oh crap!
Israel,
here you go.
Because
here you go.
Israel could no longer be a majority Jewish ethno state. She just said that. She's against the right of return for Palestinian refugees, but she's for the right of return for like random Jews who have nothing to do with Israel. Are you kidding me? This person is supposed to be like some sort of
Oh my fucking god. First of all,
so this is a little snippet from Eris' stream that BE's leading off with.
This is the clip. I'm pretty sure that's the clip that got like kind of like spread around on Twitter. Like literally what I am saying is I'm giving the Israeli perspective, the Zionist perspective, okay, on what they feel. And when I say things like I think and I feel, right, I'm talking, and if you listen to me, it's pretty clear that that's what I'm saying. Right?
The volume's kind of low. Oh, yeah, good call.
On their perspective.
By the way, apparently she responded to me on her stream. She tried to say that in her video where she, like, objectively states her own opinions supporting Israel as an ethno state, that, oh, you guys didn't get it. I was just placing myself in the position of the average Israeli and saying their opinion. It's like the funniest thing ever. It's like a fucking neo-Nazi making a video about how great Hitler is, and then trying to backtrack later when it goes bad for them and saying, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, I'm not actually a Nazi. I was just speaking as the average German from 1940. It's the funniest thing ever. Like someone explicitly stating their opinion multiple times saying like, I think, to me, etc. And then...
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like BadEmpanada's right. I haven't gone through the original video with a fine-tooth comb, which I guess would be, the next step of certainty, so I don't want to plant that flag of certainty there, but it sounded to me like, at least some of what Eris was saying was offering her opinion. I do agree that there's some of the things that she said that she was describing what she thought were the political realities in Israel-Palestine. She tries to hang the entirety of the video on that, though, and I think that's disingenuous. I think she's taking ideas that she stated as her own ideas, I think, I feel, right? And she's folding that into some ideas that were stated as this is what the average person in Israel thinks. This is how, this outcome would affect the voting, the government of Israel, right? And based on that, she's kind of, precluding certain possibilities, like, being like a one-state solution, just saying, like, take that off the table, because that's just not, but it's hard for me to tell, like, which, now I'm questioning it, but I'm pretty sure there's at least some of the stuff that she was stating as her own, opinion of the, what should, so she, normative and descriptive claims, she's classifying everything that she said as a descriptive claim, and then BE's pointing out the I think, I feel statements, which seem to imply more than a descriptive claim, i.e. a normative claim, i.e. an ought rather than an is, if that makes sense. This is like the language of debate bros, chat. I have to translate, okay? I have to translate debate bro to human to cat girl, all kinds of, linguistic, Rosetta Stones turning in my head at the moment, okay?
And coming up with a
Hey, Big Cub.
random excuse afterwards, after they see that it didn't go too well for their brand, to disown what they clearly believe, and they clearly indicated they believe just a second earlier. It's so transparent, and that is really what grifting means. It's changing your opinions or pretending to hold a certain opinion that you don't for the sake of, like, you know, protecting your brand, making more money, etc. She's a grifter. She's afraid to state her real opinions because she knows that they're disgusting. So she's trying to disown them post-hoc after seeing that it didn't go well. It's weird how she came out of nowhere 7 months ago, suddenly starts posting videos that get, her first video has 10,000 views with these really professional graphics and stuff that she clearly didn't make herself, and her videos are also very clearly not edited by her. So something's clearly going on here. This is someone who started out with a very substantial initial investment. Maybe it was an initial investment from herself, from her apartheid blood money.
See, so this is the shit that's gonna, it's like, you know, I don't know, I personally would not go this way, right? It's too close to a trope. It's too close to a trope. And, I know that, I don't think that it was intended, but, you know, it's going to give, Eris a place to, strike back at, and, you know, I don't know. I guess I have a different aesthetic that I used to for doing content oppositional to someone, right? Like I don't do things the way that I used to do because you know, it's like when you're in too much of a reactive mode, you might end up putting things in a way that you know, gives the person that you're speaking to, you know, sort of a chance to characterize you in a way that you didn't intend to be, right? And yeah, that's, you know, this is why I try not to go at somebody with, you know, I don't know, it still happens with Vaush and stuff, right? But like, you know, like just go off the cuff on emotions, right? Like that's been, you know, not always the best strategy for me. BE is quite an edgy guy, so yeah, I guess maybe BE just is Banksy. Oh my god. Nobody knows who she is, but I'm pretty sure she isn't Elon Musk.
Anyway, so to go,
well, she and Vaush later on are gonna describe themselves as economically, having pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, right? So, you know, they're both kind of claiming having come from humble origins, and obviously people don't believe that about either, whether it's true or not. He exaggerates a lot, but his argument is fair. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, listen, I am fucking traumatized from dealing with debate bros, okay? Like, I have had so many lies told about me and, you know, unwittingly fed into people's drama cycles, and you'll notice that I am consciously avoiding that now, right? Especially when you got something as odious as Twitch politics, which, you know, Eris very much is a part of. You don't want to feed into that, drama cycle, because that is an organization that is made to kind of circle the wagons. That is an organization that's made to manipulate, you know, public opinion. That is, they thrive on drama, right? Because it's not really about politics. It's about personality. And so is Vaush. And here you're going to, this is a sneak preview, right? But a big part of this issue is the fact that although Vaush once said, the left is not your social club, the left has become Vaush's social club. He gatekeeps. He decides, shoe on head, yes, you can come in. You know, Hunter Avalon, yes, you can come in. Kraut, no, not Kraut, no, not Kraut, you know what I mean? And right or wrong, right, he is kind of making those calls in a big way, and because of that, he ends up cultivating, if you want to look at it in a very innocent way, you could say friendships. If you want to look at it maybe a more realistic business sense, you know, it's a, you know, transactional value that streamers get from each other, that he cultivates these with the right and the left. And we kind of saw what happened with Dylan Burns, in terms of Dylan Burns, a lefty, you know, like that had a political panel show, and because he was having a hard time finding conservative panelists, right, and that lefty panelists were much easier for him to find, he ended up kind of giving a lot of control to the conservative, you know, panelists, right? It ended up that they sort of intellectually captured Dylan, and the effective, you know, the effect of his panel is much more centrist, maybe even a little bit like right leaning, right? And he absolutely refuses to or for a long time to examine the impact that his panel has on marginalized people, right? That this is the kind of thing that, you know, and that, of course, you know, if he's got right-wing buddies, they're gonna pat him on the back for that, right? And so we saw this happen with Dylan, where, like, I knew Dylan. I was on his stream, he was on my stream. We weren't friends, but we, you know, knew each other. We were cool with each other. And I never, like, thought, and I still don't. I don't think that Dylan was, like, some kind of crypto rightoid sneaking on or anything like that. I think he just, like, legitimately kind of got pulled by the perverse incentives of the platform into becoming more and more of the actual Vince McMahon character that he inhabits this day. But honest to God, he did not used to be like that. So the platform has that kind of effect on people. And with Vaush, what's happened is that he just makes, like, it's like a guild, you know what I mean? It's like a Warcraft guild or something, right? And he's just like, you know, okay, you no, you said something bad about me, fuck you, you know, like it's kind of like this whole and ideology at the end of the day doesn't end up mattering, or maybe he doesn't even notice, because there's so much about Eris's, like, presentation that, like, signals lefty. That there's, like, a decent amount of, like, leftish people in you know, Eris's community, right, that don't even realize that, yeah, this is, you know, overall the pull of this discourse is to the right, but it's done in a subtle way, and it's done with a lot of the trappings, like I said, of leftism. But then you get some very hard pills, like, you know, this latest one being the, you know, kind of the Likud, you know, take on Israel-Palestine, that, like, when the audience sometimes, like, kind of wakes up and takes a look at what's going on, they're not so comfortable with. So, you know, that's what's been going on, and that's going to be a big factor going forward. It's something that you have to look at, like, right? You can think that your creator is on the left. They can ostensibly be on the left, but depending on kind of what clout network you're part of, or, you know, sort of where your networking is, you can end up really easily being a tool for the exact opposite ideology of the one that you espouse. And we've seen that a lot lately. We've seen the right be able to have reach into the uwu left, right, and get a bunch of them on a giant, you know, dog pile with a woman who works with Big Papa Fascist, right? I'm talking about uwu left gatekeepy, you know, like the people that Vaush would call woke scolds, okay? People that Vaush would call fucking woke scolds, don't want to have anything to do with them, right? They are arm in arm with people that are, you know, in that whole politically provoked gang. In other words, people that are kind of like okay with working with some, you know, slightly fash creators. I don't know how else to say that, but this is not something that these lefties would do on purpose. But it's kind of like if the person is talking shit about somebody that you hate, the impulse is to jump on and not check, not gatekeep. Because as good as, like, you know, uwu lefties supposedly are on gatekeeping, when there's somebody that they're wanting to go after and cancel, they will absolutely jump on a right-wing campaign for that. And we saw that shit go down recently, right? And they're going to have some explaining to do with their communities, why they're working with right-wingers to take down a trans streamer, right?
Show how she was clearly stating her opinion. No one talks about something in the third person for an entire video without actually stating that you're doing that for the entire video.
It seems like some people are mad at BadEmpanada for being correct. Yeah, you're not wrong. Eris has been harassing me for... Oh, wow. That sucks. I think a lot of more centrist people got labeled the left, because on the other side there was Trump and everything else looked left. Yeah, I mean, like that's true. That's true too. But in some senses, it's useful for the right to have people that either are connected to lefties or people who are ostensibly lefties themselves, right? But then hang out with a Twitch politics type circle. It's nice for them to have that reach, because that is a silo of thought. That is an absolute echo chamber over there, right? And they get like these ideas drilled into them, right? About like how cringe the online left is, and how to, you know, like this, like, if you're a lefty, you've got to be a self-hating lefty to get with that group, right? And so, you know, then they have these like lefties that'll come out and they'll, you know, sort of be like, oh yeah, did you hear about so and so that did such and such? And it's like, oh, the right wing op that they're trying to do, yeah, I'm gonna be a tool of that. I'm gonna help spread that because I'm friends with these fucking Twitch politics people and they help me get ahead. And it's as simple as that. They fucking dial J and they said, hello, Mr. Joker. I would like to, you know, get my desire fulfilled. I would like to have my wish granted. And I don't really care what you take from me. I don't really care what I have to pay. And, you know, like the price is, you know, everything that you pretend to care about in terms of politics. But I mean, if you don't care about it, or if it's really about you and like making yourself like the center of everything, then maybe that's okay. And I'm finding a lot of people involved in online politics, at the end of the day, they don't actually care about ideology. Ideology is just a code by which they interact with certain groups. And, you know, it's as changeable as their clothes. They will take that shit right off and put on a new jacket that says Twitch politics and fucking, you know, if it's good for their career. There's too much fucking careerism is what I'm saying. Like, if this is supposed to be about leftism, if this is supposed to be about consciousness, if this is supposed to be about solidarity, I'm not seeing a lot of that right now. I'm not seeing a lot of that at all.
Well, constantly saying, I think, to me...
Am I making trouble?
And then later on being like, oh no, I was role-playing the average Israeli in that video.
But NCC did nothing wrong.
That's absurd. No one does that. When you're explaining someone's fucking, you know, like the average person's position, you would say, oh, I think that, you know, the majority might think this. You don't say, I think.
As far as I know, American liberals are not good at noticing right-wing tendencies that are not American. That's true. Yeah, that is really true. Americans are good at noticing MAGAs. Like if somebody's got MAGA on them, which Eris definitely does not have MAGA, right? Her brand of reactionary politics is quite different, you know? So then they'll suss that out, right? They'll figure that out really quick, right? But if or if somebody's like, you know, kind of like a conspiracy theorist, they'll notice that, right? But in terms of just like ideology, they kind of just look for the trappings. Do you feel like a leftist? You know, do you feel like, you know, one of us, right? And in the end of the day, that actually doesn't dictate, you know, ideology in any kind of way. It might correlate with ideology, but that's all that is a correlation. This is a very special moment in history. What? It is? At the moment, just looking at other people making trouble, I think, yeah, I mean, I think, wait, am I making trouble? Maybe I am.
To me, like, that excuse comes out of nowhere. She clearly saw that it was going poorly for her brand.
I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to report on this shit, because, like, I'm telling you, this is going to be drama for fucking months to come. I swear to God. There is no incentive for BadEmpanada to stop. There is no incentive for Aristocracy to stop. There's no incentive for Vaush to stop. I feel like this is going to go on for a while. So you're getting at ground level here. You're getting, you're the early investors in this drama, right? You're going to know about this shit before anybody else does, because I don't think that this is stopping. I don't think that I think this is gonna be a thing. And it's interesting because you don't see, I mean, like, BadEmpanada kind of represents tanky Twitter, I guess, but there's more than just tanky Twitter that's listening, right? Because BadEmpanada is making, you know, sense and saying something that maybe should have been said by other lefties a long time ago. I mean, this isn't like something that's like out of the blue, like somebody just like, you know, that Eris started having bad takes just now. Eris has been having bad takes for a long, long time. But, you know, having that affiliation with Twitch politics kind of, you know, protects you maybe from some of that blowback, right? Early investors. Yeah, get the NCC NFT. Oh my God. Oh my God. We need to do an NFT. That's right. So to be huge hypocrites, like just like Vaush. Or wait, no. It was destined. Vaush didn't really do the NFT, right? Aristocracy X BadEmpanada featuring Vaushite intervention. This is a whole new meta. This is a whole new meta that's going on now, right? And I don't see it. I don't see it being particular. Well, it could be bad for Eris, but having Vaush on our side, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd say that like this shout out from Vaush, this attention from Vaush, this like hand around your shoulder from Vaush probably makes up for the damage that her brand has undergone with BadEmpanada. However, I will point out that Vaush's brand is suffering from the same kind of damage as Eris is taking on, right? So Vaush is having a lot of people notice that he's not exactly a lefty in a lot of senses, that there's just some like, and it's not just like, you know, the superficial stuff, like, you know, the stuff that makes people think Eris is a lefty. It's like it goes deeper, right? There's some really fundamental shit that Vaush does not get that is kind of assumed knowledge for lefties. And when the left looks at Vaush, looks at one of the leaders, unfortunately, right, of the online left, and sees like these kind of DGG level takes, it really makes a lot of people, you know, who've been supporting him question. I was noticing that in the Vaush video with Eris, like although there was like what 1.2k likes, about 200 dislikes, there was so many comments in the chat, and some of them sounded like Vaush people that were upset about Vaush taking this side. And that's with against somebody that's attacked. BadEmpanada has attacked Vaush, right? So they'd have reason to have grievance against BadEmpanada, but they're mostly sus about Eris. So, you know, there is like there is the potential for, instead of Vaush's effect to be a protective one of Eris, for Vaush's liability and Eris's liability to compound each other, and for them both to be seen as more of creatures not of the left, right? For them both to be seen as, you know, I mean, realistically, you know, more in line with what their actual ideology is, I gotta say. Taking bets on how long before Vaush backpedals and blames the drama fallout on oh shit. BadEmpanada is not tanky enough though, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, like, that's what I'm saying, is it's not just tankies that are, you know, retweeting this BadEmpanada stuff. Vaush taking damage for backing people up. The heck did you say? Oh, that is true. Now, Vaush has said that he will only do what's good for Vaush, right? I don't remember. Maybe I'm misquoting, but there's something to that effect, right? That at the end of the day, he makes a decision about what makes sense, you know, for him as a brand. Watch Zionist Twitter cancel Eris for linking up with a streamer. Oh, fuck, you're right. I forgot about that. That was the reason that Vaush was banned from Twitch back in the day. Yeah, the Irish laddie, the Irish laddie days. He did not go on to tear about Hassan and the stupid house. Tell me that did not happen. I've made Vaush aware of Eris's accusing of Eris's accusations. Oh, this is why he begins the conversation by asking her if she's ever done this. It should be said that BadEmpanada is decidedly not a tanky. Okay. Well, he's in a sweet spot then, because he's getting retweets from tankies and he's getting retweets from anarchitties. He's in that sweet spot, I guess.
Knew that her position is undefensible and decided to change it while denying that she ever actually held those positions in the first place.
Did I say?
So let's watch
did I
some
just
of the clips that have
unironically call
already
myself
gone
an
over on
anarchitty?
stream,
I think I
just
did.
for good measure, and you'll see.
But to me, it's kind of crazy to expect people to be like, well, you guys have to accept everyone, and then watch that majority population turn it into an Arab pan state.
So clearly she's staying there, that she, to her, oh
my god, I mean, it's such a conceptual thing, but like, it just means, like, in general, if you're, you know, like, Okay, so it started in, oh my god, the first it was a UK communist term that there was was it the Prague Spring, right? And then afterwards the tanks rolled in, and like a lot of the British left saw this as being like, oh my god, the Soviet Union's like, kind of scary, right? And then if you weren't like that, if you were like, no, fuck, roll those tanks in, then you were a tanky, right? That's how it started out. It's just come to kind of symbolize that you look at, I don't know how to describe this. I'm trying to be like nuanced here. How exactly do I describe a tanky? Let's just say that the definition's up for debate, but it's in general a tendency to look at the positive sides of the USSR, the Chinese government, and other or if you ask other people, an authoritarian leftist would be another description of it. But like I'm saying, like you ask 20 different leftists what a tanky is, and you're gonna get 30 different answers. So I can't give you like the definitive answer. He's not a tanky. He just doesn't like the West. He also is much more critical of the U.S. than Vaush. It was Hungary. Fuck me. Yeah, I knew I was wrong about that. Yes. You're right. Hungarian Revolution. Libcom said it best. Had a good breakdown of what tanky. And let me tell you a little bit more about the term too. So in the past, it was used as a pejorative, right? That nobody wanted to be a tanky, and but I think that because it's been so overused, and maybe applied to a lot of people just because they're MLs, some MLs have just like, okay, I'm a tanky. They're just like, right? So it can even have like a you know what I mean? It can mean a lot of different things, right? A lot of people, a lot of MLs who get called that anyway will take that on as like a, reclamation or whatever. So yeah, 1956. Uphold Marx, Lenin, Stalin, Mao, Deng, and Xi. Meant that you're gonna get socialism or communism even if tanks are used to do it. Oh my god, no. You know what I was thinking of though would be a funny answer? It's like, it means you believe in sewer socialism. If you believe in sewer socialism, I don't know. It's a Mike from PA thing.
She thinks that it would be wrong for Israel to be turned into a majority Arab state.
I'm a little
to
sleepy
me,
right
she
now,
prefaced
Chad.
that with, okay?
Where Jews
My
become
brain isn't
second-class
working great.
citizens. Saying, okay, like you guys should just have to deal with that, right? You could just have to take the hit so you have the moral headway. It makes sense in a world where there are tons of ethnic and national and religious states, right? To at least have one for your own where you're safe, at least for just one country. And I think that that's totally valid.
She just stated at the end there that having an ethno-state is totally valid. She ended the statement with, I think that's totally valid. I think. Not, if I were role-playing the average Israeli, that is what I would think. When she said that Palestinians cannot have the right of return, she explicitly said, I think, and to me.
I don't think Palestinians can ever get the right of return. Because as the Vox mentioned, there's over 7 million. Those 700,000 have now become 7 million in terms of their descendants. I don't think that's ever, there's no room.
I don't think that's ever possible, I would assume she was going to say. There's no room. There's no room. She doesn't think there's room. She doesn't think, it's possible or that it can or should happen. That's her. She thinks that there should not be right of return for Palestinians. But, right of return for Jews who have literally never even lived in Israel, that's fine.
They can't come there, and
they can't come there.
Israel still remain a majority state. So the only solution...
See, she doesn't think that it can happen because if they come, then Israel won't be able to remain a majority Jewish state. She outright says it. That is ethno-nationalism. For her, the Jewish ethnic majority in Israel is important, something that needs to be maintained.
To me is if you...
So then she says, to me, so to her, in her opinion, the only solution.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no room phrase. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, I don't know about liberal. I mean, like, there's some things about Eris that are reactionary, right? And I'm not talking about alt-right shit or anything like that, but yeah, I mean, like her, extreme kind of nationalism on this issue, combined with, her feelings on, oh God, what was it? Oh my God. One of the things people don't realize is that when you talk about like retributive justice versus restorative justice, I think she's hardcore on the retributive side, unabashedly. That's her philosophy, right? She's like, no. It should be like justice should be part of it. Should be revenge, right? She see, I don't know. I haven't seen this clip, but apparently during the Dylan Burns drama, she had a moment where she just got kind of like, yeah, fuck yeah, revenge is cool. Revenge is cool as fuck, especially in the legal system. I don't know. That was another thing that made a lot of lefties take a second look.
Think that Israel's the cause of the
liberals can be reactionary, i.e. neocons.
refugee problem? Our financial reparations.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is that, like, her official viewpoint when she started streaming, and, this is a history major, right? This is somebody who's not at all, she knows, what she's talking about. She's not just, like, saying, I support this ideology with no knowledge of it, but, it's monarchism, right? And in Canada, that has, like, that there is a there is a ideology there that is quite reactionary of constitutional monarchism.
So there you go. This is her opinion.
There is no room. Sounds like typical German. Yeah, the room thing. There's a lot in this video that just is really hard to do. To explain away, right? And that's why Eris's explanation was, I was not making normative claims, I was making descriptive claims. These are claims about the Israeli voting public. So therefore, what I'm saying is, within the political realities, this is what we're looking at, right? And I think there was some things that she did say, you know what I mean? I think that there were some, she did introduce some of that into the conversation. However, not everything in here was introduced that way. A lot of these statements were begun with I think, I feel, like, descriptions of her opinion, right? So by all accounts, normative claims, right? And that's what BadEmpanada is calling out on this response video. Canadian monarchists are far right.
In her opinion, which
yeah, like, okay, no, here's something super weird. Okay, yeah, she's a monarch, like, that was her stated thing. Anytime she's asked about it, she'll just be like, well, I mean, are you okay with the UK? That's a constitutional monarchy, and kind of like try to downplay it, like it's not really that big of a deal, it's just like a, right? And I'm trying to remember, I think I was on an anarchist streamers chat one night, and Eris showed up there, right? And she, is one of these streamers that, if you're a creator and you're in the audience, you can come on and talk with him, right? And she came on and talked with him, and she kind of did this thing where she was like, ooh, I kind of, like, I'm curious about anarchism. I'm just like, I don't know anything about it. I just, like, tell me more. It's so interesting. Kind of gave people the idea that, like, maybe she wasn't really ideologically bound to any position, and that, like, anarchism sounds like a pretty cool thing. And it's like, no, sure, her mind wasn't up in the air. She was playing to an audience, and that's kind of, what you'll see from her, which is what makes her, dangerous, I'd say, in that she can bring, like, fairly far right talking points, not always, not about everything, right, but more than you'd expect, into a left space, and sort of not be noticed, right? And that's sort of what's happening here, because honestly, Vaush's community is pretty pro-Palestinian. And I mean, she is kind of retconning her position when she talks to Vaush, right? She tries to kind of dial back everything that she said to fit within the confines. But yeah, you can see in the comments, there's a lot of Vaush people not particularly happy with him platforming and building a career for this, Canadian reactionary.
she stated is her opinion. She said, I think, and to me, Palestinians cannot be allowed the right of return because they would dilute for one, there's no room, and they would dilute the Jewish majority of Israel. To her, the only solution is reparations, which she then went on to argue against as well by saying that Israel can't afford it. But you see the idea. She's saying now...
Okay, yeah, I mean, he did, but he made it in a way that just, like, sounded like he was saying, like, I don't know, like, I see, like, I'm not sure what he was trying to, imply there, but I know how Eris is going to spin this. And, it sounded like he was saying she had a lot of money and that, like, you can see how this is going to go. And this is why I say this drama is not going anywhere. This drama is not going to end anytime soon. Like, the Eris is going to come back with, like, this is kind of, like, oh yeah, she did say some sussy dog whistles, right? That she thought she heard some sussy dog whistles in this stream. And I think that's the kind of thing that she was talking about, right? But the thing that's getting missed, right, is that, like, I don't know, this isn't really about Eris and the source of her, like, startup money as much as it is about, the kind of, Twitch political mafia that exists. And, how it, picks, how it's weaponized in a lot of ways. She's going to talk about getting brigaded by BadEmpanada's fans, and that's a strange claim for Eris to make because, I've personally witnessed her community brigade several streamers. Like, this is not something that... in fact, I think she even mentions it, but says it was an accident. I forgot to say don't harass anybody, but, and then this is what happens, like, right? Oh, this dance got out of hand, I'm so sorry, right? It's yeah.
That she doesn't actually believe any of this, and she was just taking the role of the average Israeli.
Like, I think that if BadEmpanada wanted to do a deep dive of, like, because he acts like Eris just appeared in March, and she didn't. She's had a community. Calopian Club, like, right? That's a Discord, which is an offshoot of the politics Discord, okay? So, it's not, she's not coming out of nowhere. It's not like she doesn't have support. It's not like it's not obvious where that support comes from. When BadEmpanada's just saying, like, oh, there seems like there's a lot of money here, then that just opens you to, criticisms of, like, a dog whistle or whatever, when in reality, the truth is, like, right under everybody's noses, right? Eris is useful to streamers like Destiny. Eris is useful to clout networks on Twitch politics, right? And as such, it makes sense that she'd get a lot of he mentions editing, there's that's one way to get a hold of an editor, right? So it's not that mysterious. It's not some it's pretty clear what's going on here, but I think that BadEmpanada maybe just doesn't have some of the background on kind of these people and where they started out,
which is absurd. And then later on,
and BadEmpanada, I could help fill you in on some of that. I don't know everything. I'm not an Eris expert or by any means, but I have had some experience with this streamer, and I do know a little bit about how the Twitch politics clout gang works. So hit me up.
This is a very similar logic.
Hit me up
to argue against the one-state solution, saying that the problem with a one-state solution would be that Jewish Israelis would become a minority in that one state, and thus they would probably oppress.
Oh yeah. One of the brigades, she called the streamer. Well, like, we can say this is YouTube. We can say she called the streamer a bitch, right? Or did she actually say female dog? Maybe she said female dog. Oh, that's right, because his chat doesn't allow you to say bitch, so she said female dog. But she was basically calling him a bitch, for not towing the line of Twitch politics.
Palestinians, and then it would be an apartheid
now he does.
state,
now
right? Half of that is completely
now he's a good boy.
In line with what she said earlier.
Now Dr. Heemed is a obedient female dog.
Yeah, clearly signaled as being her own opinion with the qualifiers, I think, and to me. We've already established that she supports, it doesn't matter what she says now, because she said here, before she figured out that she would be called out on it, she very clearly said that her opinion
somehow female dog is worse.
That she doesn't want the Jewish ethnic character of the Israeli state to be diluted multiple times.
These are the things, and sometimes it's just the words that she's using, but like You know, if she's gonna call other people on dog whistles, then the, you know, ethnic character of the state being diluted. Like, you think that, like, you expect people to leave that alone? You expect people to be like, oh no, that's just, you know, unfortunate language, whatever, you know, right? No, dude, that's not how it works. If you're gonna live by that sword, you know, you're gonna have to accept some blows from that sword too, right?
Times she said that, including to the point that she wants to exclude the right Palestinians
A
from
mother dog, that's so much better, yeah. Oh, a mother dog, oh my god, yes, I like that better.
the right of return. And that is the context in which she said this later on, regarding the problem with the one-state solution being that it would create a...
Oh, because it emphasizes that it's meant as an insult. Oh, it's a pretty big insult in the... Okay.
Palestinian majority.
And this is why I get really scared that Israel's going to become an apartheid state. And all those lefties are going to turn out to be right.
Oh, you're saying you think that that was a dog whistle on our... Oh my god! Yo, I didn't even imagine that could be a thing. But yeah, you're right. That's the thing, is if you're gonna, you know, talk about somebody's sussy dog whistles, then like when you make literal sussy dog whistles, right, you're gonna have to accept that critique too, right? It just like, and in reality, here's the ironic thing about right wingers like Eris: they will bitch all day long about cancel culture, meanwhile enacting it whenever it's fucking convenient, right? What you do, Eris, is never cancel culture, but if anybody has the slightest fucking critique of you, oh my god, the cancel mob's after me again, right? Poor me, right? It's ridiculous.
When they criticize Israel, calling it apartheid. Because if they keep building the settlement, and more settlements happen, it's going to be a more and larger of a human rights disaster to pull out and to get rid of the Jews from the region and give them back to the Palestinians. So it means that the only solution you're going to have is a one-state solution.
Okay, so that was very similar logic to Vaush's, you know, Professor Flower, the South Africa discourse with Professor Flowers, right? That's problematic in the same way, right?
Where everything becomes
It's looking at a group out of power and saying, well, but if they get restored to equal status, they might just do the same thing. You know, they'd have every motivation to do the same thing back to the group that did it to them.
Israeli state. The big problem with that is that for Israel to continue to exist as Israel and not just, you know, become a non-Jewish state, and that's just a typical...
This part is absolutely her opinion, okay? She clearly stated it earlier. For her, it's important that Israel remains majority Jewish. That is ethno-nationalism.
Arab country in the
But she's trying to disown all of this, okay?
Middle East with an Arab majority population, Israel, and to remain with Western values.
What happens to the poor invaders if we give the invaded back their country argument? I've been hearing since the 80s. Yeah. And chat, if you like, listen, you're gonna notice, okay, I'm trying to kind of handle this a little bit delicately, and that is because I've had drama with Eris in the past, in the not so distant past, actually, and I'm not trying to create a back and forth. I'm reporting what's going on. That's kind of what I do, if you haven't noticed. I'm reporting on Twitch politics, on YouTube politics, on the state of the online left, the absolute state of the online left, right? And I'm not trying to feed into their drama cycles, because these people will absolutely try to trap you in something like that, and then just run a PR war against you. And I've got no interest in making any money, clicks, reach for these people, right? I've got no interest in a back and forth of them. They are not good creators. Like, I have said that before. I want nothing to do with that server. I want nothing to do with those people. They are incredibly disingenuous and just generally toxic. And I don't want to have anything to do with that. I don't want my community to be exposed to that. They are a reality on the current political scene, so we have to talk about them, right? And I'm going to tell you about them, but I'm not trying to do any fucking drama cycles with Eris, so just know that. This is not turning into a drama channel, nothing like that. I feel like that's a mistake. That always takes you away from the discourse. And I want to always circle back to the discourse. When drama comes up, when drama, gets attention, gets eyeballs, I always want to turn those eyeballs back to, okay, but what's the underlying issue here, right? That so often gets lost, right? And we don't want that happening. We got a different agenda than Twitch politics does, okay? And so we've let them run things for long enough. We're not playing their game anymore. We're onto their shit, okay? We're wise to that shit. We are not feeding into their drama cycles. Korea and Vietnam kicked the white folks out of their country many times. White people are still alive. They're mad, but they're still alive. Yeah. You don't blame me. Okay, so I'm just like letting you know that, because if you feel like I'm going, I'm not going very hard on Eris, I'm trying to kind of like report on this rather than join in this. Eris, if you watch this, despite everything that you've done to me in the past, I am not trying to dogpile you. You're relevant. You should be happy about that. And I'm reporting on a story based on that. So yeah, not trying to start any shit, not trying to farm any drama here. Really just want to stay out of it with all the toxic Twitch politics people, right? And all that I feel like that shit is a lost cause, and I'm just noping out of it from now on.
Values and all those things. Jews need to remain the majority of the population. So if they're not the majority...
So that part is absolutely her opinion. It's completely in line with everything that she said before that, which she prefaced with, terms like "to me" and "I think." The idea that she was fucking talking as the average Israeli is not even...
Oh, she tried to get on Zerka?
...mentioned in her previous video at all. It's something that she came up with
Wow.
Afterwards because she wanted to backtrack on what her...
Wait, where did you say cheek clapping? Can someone explain... what happened? Okay. Geez. I'll try to run it through you. I'll try to run through it really quick. Okay, so Eris is a streamer on Twitch. She kind of hangs out with a lot of lefties, but her actual politics are like constitutional monarchist. Yeah, so she's kind of a reactionary actually, and her Israeli Palestinian takes her even more kind of on the right. And so, that causes, like, basically this weird thing where she's a bad take machine, and a lot of lefties that are her friends get roped into defending, and explaining and retconning, her take. So anyway, she had a take about Canada Day where she was like, from the perspective of an immigrant, actually, though, like, she was trying to contrast it with the perspective of a First Nations person, a colonized person in Canada, and say that there's a good side to Canada too, right? And a lot of people just did that. That was like people, that was offensive, right? For obvious reasons. And BadEmpanada criticized her over that. Then she had she did a react to Vox's history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, right? And she watched it and commentated. She made some comments that BadEmpanada highlighted, that got clipped and shown around Twitter, that kind of Likud type takes on things, like pretty far right, and this has hurt her brand. Okay, so BadEmpanada's hurting her brand. At one point, she decided that, I can't be quiet anymore. I'm gonna stream. So she went and did a stream. I think she did a stream on Thursday and a stream on Friday, talking about the BadEmpanada stuff. So she hit back. This is BadEmpanada hitting her back from that, and then after that, we're gonna watch the Vaush platform that she got. In order to clap back at BadEmpanada, because I don't know if you know this, but Vaush is not much of a fan of BadEmpanada. BadEmpanada has come for Vaush a few times too, so the stakes are getting raised. This drama is getting heated, and I am predicting that it's not going anywhere, right? Because there's no reason for BadEmpanada to stop. He's probably growing off of this, right? Anytime you get attacked by Vaush, there's a lot of anti-fans. There's a lot of people that are sick of Vaush that you're going to look good to all of a sudden. So there's no incentive for BadEmpanada to stop. There's no incentive for Eris to stop. I don't think, unless the brand destruction just gets too bad. Which I said is a possibility, given that she and Vaush have a similar liability as far as their brands go, as far as them being perceived as sort of on the left, but like kind of leaving and kind of not left and kind of bad take machines. They're both known for that, right? So in a way, her circling, Vaush circling the wagons with her may be a good thing for her in the short run, but it may be a bad thing for her in the long run, right? Because it reinforces that perception of her as, kind of, a fake lefty, right? Like Vaush. Vaush and Empanada don't like each other, but why doesn't Vaush attack Eris? That's a really good question. So, yeah, Vaush helped build Eris's career. I think that maybe he just didn't know anything about her politics. I think that maybe she's good at kind of like, sounding like she agrees with you. Like I told you what she was like in that anarchist chat, where she was like, ooh, anarchy, these are some interesting ideas. I gotta look more into this. This is, like just kind of like the idea, just like invite you to anarchy pill me. Please, I'm ready. I'm super on the fence as far as ideology. And she's not on the fence as far as ideology. She's just really good at ingratiating herself with whatever, crowd that she's, ideologically, whatever crowd she's around at the time, right? So, and she got, Vaush's support. I don't know if he knew about her ideology. Like I said, there's a lot about her that just like the, kind of uwu, anime avatar. She just seems like a lefty. And a lot of people just take her at face value. But when you listen to her takes, you realize, no, this is not what we're seeing. So that's kind of why Vaush and Eris, if you want to be real naive about it, you could say it's just their friendship. They're friends and they want to, Vaush wants to help his friend. And if you wanted to be a little bit more realistic about it, you'd say, they're probably both getting something out of this, out of this deal. That's how streaming works most of the time. It's beneficial for both parties, and we've seen how Eris can kind of carry water for people like Destiny, defend them when accusations are made against them. That's one of the major things that Eris has done is taking on anyone who any female streamer who has a complaint about a male streamer on the platform. It feels like Eris is just right there to be like, well, no, like let me attack the victim, right? So there's there's a maybe just a transactional relationship going on here, and it is weird because we're talking about a left winger and a right winger, but as Vaush says, like, it's not about, like, being on the left doesn't mean ideologically being on the left. Being on the left means being cool. So what he's saying is that, like, in opposition to what he used to say, years ago, he used to say the left is not your social club. Okay, well, now it's his social club, okay? And you're not so I'm not a leftist because I'm not cool with Vaush, for instance. Like, I'm not a real leftist. Somehow I'm a reactionary. I'm too nice to Professor Flowers, and Professor Flowers loves genocide, or, like, he would be like, yeah, not really, because being a leftist means being cool, and being cool in Vaush's book. So in other words, he's absolutely turned the online left into a social club. It is his social club, which he gatekeeps, and it's all about, like, what can you do for me, right? That's who gets in, somebody who can help him. So he's creating, a political mafia, right? That's what Twitch politics is. That's, kind of what Vaush is doing. They are, pretty connected, and, the thing with Eris sort of, shows you that there's, there's a somewhat of a positive feeling between those two groups, right? And this goes on all the time, and this is incredibly influential. This is incredibly influential in who gets big and who gets raids, in how social interactions work, in the perceptions about people, whether people will spread lies about you or whether people will look into those things and say, aha, this doesn't check out. There aren't actually receipts here. Like, I mean, they're file folders. There's names on it, but that's just file folders with names on it. You got to show me a little bit more if you wanted me to say that, like, this crazy streamer is making a dossier on everybody, right? Which, like I've said before, you could go into any Discord, grab links about different streamers, and compile a dossier and be like, oh, here's Shark 300's dossier. Here's Vaush's dossier. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, people talked about this person in my Discord. Is that, like, I mean, if you're a super paranoid, narcissistic streamer, it could indicate something. You see your name on that list, you're like, whoa, somebody's coming after me, right? And it could just be like, yeah, you know what? Some links of your content I hate to tell you, but this is gonna. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Some links of your content got shared on my Discord. I know, it's terrible. I'm so sorry. I should have been watching that. People are sharing links to other people's content. What the fuck? What was I thinking? That's an invasion of privacy. Showing other people's publicly available fucking content. I don't know. And it wasn't even me who did it, right? But like, you know, that's what's being passed along, right? And whether, you know, people look at that as, you know, with a little bit of scrutiny, or whether people are like, oh yeah, no, this is sus, this is definitely sus, this is, you know, like that's determined by these alliances, by these, you know, kind of networks, right? So yeah, I mean, this is, expect more of this. Expect more of Vaush kind of saying, okay, Ridoid over there, you're okay. You're not okay. Don't like you, Ridoid, but you're okay. And and these leftoids, they're not really left, right? Because they don't like Vaush. So I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, this is going to turn people's stomachs, and it already is. And that's why it's easier now to be unabashedly against the influence of Vaush on the online left, right? Whereas before, you know, it would have been somewhat untenable. And you still get a lot of hate for it, right? But there's now a lot of people that, you know, they don't like this influence. They don't like what debate bros have become. They don't like how much of a hold, like, white, straight, cis. No, straight is wrong with Vaush. Straight would be wrong. White cis dudes like Vaush have on the left, right? And it's not even about his identity, really, as much as it is about his takes, right? Identity informs maybe how much you need to be aware of marginalized people's issue, but that doesn't mean that somebody with, you know, a privileged identity can't, like, you know, educate themselves, can't open themselves up, can't inquire about the lived experience of marginalized people and actually, you know, learn to minimize the harm and to, you know, and try to be there for those people. Trans creator Cat Black once said she'd rather talk to Kansas Owens than talk to Vaush, because Vaush got all the racist and anti-trans about it. Yeah, there's you know, and there's an intransigence too, because like part of what, and Vaush will talk about this later, part of what his community does is it insulates him from anything approaching accountability, right? Which apparently is Vaush's worst nightmare. You know, he picks up that Discord and is like, no comment, chick, what a nightmare.
Her own sincere opinion.
He doesn't want that.
The part after this is the part that is not her opinion. You know, she does it.
Debate bros do a lot of talking and takes, but hardly ever put boots on the ground. I'd be more willing to converse with Owens than to deal with some just nice. If Vaush were true north, if Vaush is true north, you're riding on the Titanic. As a Puerto Rican male, I've had so many cis white males tell me that they know better. Yeah, and that's one of the main things about Vaush, right? Is that, you know, he's the effect of it is to silence marginalized people. Like he thinks of himself as a champion for our causes, right? But he won't even listen to us half the time. Like, if we're not saying what he wants to hear, he won't listen to us, and that's where that thought slime meltdown stream came from.
I didn't think that Israel should have a one-state solution. And she's saying here that she thinks that it will turn into apartheid if that happens, because Israelis will probably end up oppressing Palestinians. But everything before that is absolutely her own opinion, because it's completely in line with everything that she said up to that point in the clips that I showed.
The population anymore, right? Because you're now including the entire region and tons of, and Palestinians are coming back. What happens to all the citizens, all the people that are now in Israel, all the Palestinians that are now considered in legal Israel, because you probably don't trust them to give them normal rights and everything, because, I mean, you're literally just at war with them. So what are you going to do? You're going to make them second-class citizens. And voila, you start having an apartheid state.
So that last part there, the last 30 seconds or so, that's the part that she thinks would be bad. Before that, it's completely her own opinions, in line with everything that she said earlier, prefaced by terms like I think and to me, okay? Unambiguously. But she also, I didn't cover this in...
Wait, no, I didn't even notice this, but BadEmpanada, it sounds like is acknowledging that take right there was not a normative claim, it was a descriptive claim. It was Eris, you know, characterizing the Israeli voting you know, like the patterns, basically, you know, how the average Israeli voter would respond. But she did make, you know, like some descriptive claims, but I'm pretty sure, and you know, BadEmpanada's shown a bunch of clips with the I believe, I think, you know, all these kind of statements that seem to be normative claims. So what she's trying to say is that because she made some descriptive claims like this, right, that all that she was saying was descriptive, right? Because she's noticed that even though she said this, even though I think she believes this, this is not a tenable position for somebody with as much like left and centrist audience as she has. This has been destructive to her brand. And so she has to retcon the position and say the whole thing was just descriptive. Why are you giving me the shit? I'm just trying to give you my insight on the average Israeli voter. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't give any of my own opinions. I just completely described, you know, a hypothetical person's opinion. And that's strange belief right there. Eris takes apartheid so freaking lightly. Oh yeah, no, like yeah.
First video, but she like tried to justify in a way Israeli settlements by
he's got savior complex on steroids. Do you think you mean Vaush isn't an expert on black people? I heard that he had a degree in black people. That's right.
Saying that the rest of Israel,
he's got a bachelor's. He's gonna let you know. He's gonna flex that fucking bachelor's. So like fucking look at my bachelor's. Fucking yeah, dude. Like that's like me. That's like me flexing my biceps, you know what I mean? I don't know. Actually, my biceps are okay, but like, I don't know. What muscle do they have that's really weak?
Well, there's no room and they're cheap.
It's not weak. I'm sorry. I'm being elite. That sounds elitist. What I mean is that like maybe flexing education at all is kind of cringe, right? But maybe it's more cringe when you don't have any particular, you know...
And that, like, the evil Palestinians who fight back against these settlements, like, make it dangerous for Jews who live there.
And the Israelis here will tell you, it is a hard life in Israel in terms of, and
no, it's fucking not.
Not comparing it to what Palestinians experience, right? Because that's a whole other separate issue. One of the major reasons why my family left, two reasons: my parents didn't want me to live in war, but a big reason was economic. It's a hard place.
You migrated from Israel to South Africa because your parents didn't want you to have worse economic circumstances? I mean, that's kind of telling on yourself because, you know, if your economic circumstances get better moving from Israel to South Africa, you're clearly in the fucking bourgeoisie.
To live, especially when compared to other Western countries. It's very expensive.
Other Western countries. That there is in line, by the way, with what she said earlier. Israel is very clearly not a Western country. It's in the middle of the fucking Middle East. Like half of the Israeli population are Arab Jews or Mizrahi. Like it's not a Western country in any way, shape or form. But she said that like for Israel to remain as a country with Western values earlier.
It becomes an Israeli state. The big problem with that is that for Israel to continue to exist as Israel and not just, you know, become a non-Jewish state and that's just a typical Arab country in the Middle East with an Arab majority population, Israel, and to remain with Western values and all those things.
Okay. So she thinks that Israel is a Western country. When she's talking about Western values here, that is her own opinion. She's not talking about the average Israeli opinion or whatever. That is
tired, credentialism, wired, co-teaching, co-learning, yeah. I don't have degrees. I guess yeah, no, that's I don't know. Like it gets us into this whole thing. Like this is what I try to avoid, right? Cuz like I have met some really intelligent people that you know, I don't even know if they have their high school diploma, right? I don't know. There's like, it's not, and I've met some not so, you know, so some people that don't have a lot of interesting thoughts, let's just say, that have, you know, pretty decent sounding degrees. So yeah, I don't think that it's something that people should be flexing.
Her own opinion, quite clearly, because
But yeah, I'm the same way, Phoenix. I got my BA. I did some. I tried to go for my doctorate, but it just wasn't happening, especially during COVID. I couldn't go on with it.
Folks, this idea of Israel being some sort of part of the West here and in other parts of the video as well.
Yeah, people smarter than I who dropped out of high school. Me too, yeah.
And there's very little space. The idea of like a 3-bedroom house, you don't get that shit in Israel. You do not get a 3-bedroom house in Israel.
And in reality, you know, like, I mean, I'll have to go into this take some other time, but I don't believe in intelligence. I think that when we're saying intelligence, we're describing multiple things, and those things should be maybe properly thought of on their own. And even those things like could probably be split. Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a weird idea that we think of this as a quantity. You've got a quantity of intelligence. I want to think about qualities of intelligence, not quantities. Like how much intelligence do you have, but what kind of intelligence do you have?
That is something that is only allowed for the rich, the very, very rich. In Israel, the most you will get is a shitty apartment. Everyone lives in shitty apartments.
Oh yeah, gender neutral honorific. Yeah.
So the only place you're gonna get a house.
I thought. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, when you have the doctor.
Everyone lives in shitty apartments, and this is where she tries to justify settlers in a way.
If you want a house and you want your kids to be able to have green space and be able to run, is in the settlements. And that's like. And that's the problem. So a lot of people buy there because it's like, it's good value for your money. And it's often the only place they can afford to live because it's cheap.
They won't take Mixley seriously, but they take Dr. Lee seriously.
And it's not just cheap because Israel literally subsidizes it. It's cheap because people don't want to live there, so it's cheap, right? Because it's dangerous. It's dangerous living what's called over the green line.
It's so weird.
I mean, this is... How is this not settler colonialism? Like, this is very similar to what my own country did, you know, isn't there something like that like that's how they got people out to go out west, you know, basically?
In all of this, like, I watched the whole thing. So
and basically put more, you know, settlers in and control more of the land, and then, you know, push the First Nations into undesirable lands, and...
I'm not leaving out context here, but at no point while going over the settlements does she ever mention the fact these people are literally illegally stealing Palestinian land. And I'm pretty sure like what she considers a shit.
I live in a shitty apartment. There's plenty of green spaces around here. Who made it dangerous? Yeah, good point. And it's on the ground floor, so there are more bugs. Is she thinks that life was hard for her to imagine? Yeah. Exactly how the Palestinians feel.
Shitty apartment is just a normal apartment. I live in a city that is absolutely fucking rife with apartments. Everyone here lives in an apartment. You can barely even find an independent house. She also refused to qualify the Nakba as ethnic cleansing, while calling Jewish settlers being evicted in the modern day ethnic cleansing. She didn't even use the word Nakba. Like, everybody search for the word ethnic cleansing here, by the way. So she's like, oh, you know, there's a debate over whether the Nakba is ethnic cleansing, and she like tries to be a neutral centrist, like trying to frame herself as being taking the neutral position here and not making a proclamation on the matter. When we all know that what her opinion on it is, right? Like, what the implication here is by her refusing to take a position.
In the late 1920s, David Ben-Gurion had brought up the idea of ethnically cleansing Palestine, and I think that is like our one connection and what makes me think it was somewhat intentional. But otherwise, we don't have as many records to prove it. We also have a lot of records that say the opposite, right? And this is where the historical method really comes into play to debate,
historical method.
Which record, like which source is going to be more accurate. So, for example, we know that there were...
So, like, nowhere here does she actually come out and say that the Nakba was ethnic cleansing. She does basically everything possible to cast doubt on the fact that it was intentional, right? Apparently, you know, all the Palestinians just got up and left. And then later on, she refers to illegal Israeli settlers doing settler colonialism today being evicted as being ethnic cleansing.
The worst thing are the settlements, because of how permanent settlements are, right? And you can't kick out settlements. You can, but it's really bad when that happens, right? Because then you're basically ethnically cleansing a region. And that's what happened in Gaza. When Israel pulled out of Gaza, lefties all loved Israel pulling out of Gaza, right? And I do think it was the right thing morally to do. But the consequence of pulling out of Gaza and giving it back to the Palestinians was ethnically cleansing the region of Jews from Gaza. They literally...
There you go. So kicking out actual illegal settlers in occupied territory is ethnic cleansing, yet the Nakba of Palestinians who had lived continuously in the places where they were being ethnically cleansed from is somehow not ethnic cleansing. This is clearly her giving her own opinion. She's not speaking as the average Israeli at any point in this video. That is a ludicrous assertion. If you think she's speaking as the average Israeli during this video, let's see, is there a single mention of average? Like, is she the average Israeli? The only time where she mentions the word average is to say that she thinks she's a little bit more educated than the average person.
Maybe I'm a little more educated than the average person.
Nothing else. Speaking, there's no speaking as, there's no, let's see, Israeli. There's nothing here about her personally, like, deciding to take up the position of an average Israeli. At no point during the video does she say that's what she's going to do. Look, let's watch the first, couple of minutes again to make sure that she doesn't establish this. Because she doesn't, because otherwise she's going to be like, oh, he didn't watch the whole video.
I mean, the conflict has not been going on for a second. I've got so much here that really upsets me. This is so important.
She just comes out of nowhere with this production value immediately. I bet she had, huge investment to put into it from her own money, from, being from a white South African family.
So we're going to look into the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We're going to watch a Vox video. I have a feeling the Vox video is going to lean very, very anti-Israel, and there's probably going to be some misconceptions in there. We'll see. So I'll fact check them, and we'll give that a watch.
One of the biggest myths about the Israel...
Okay, you see, that's the establishing statement. At no point does she say, I'm going to be taking on the position of the average Israeli, and that's going to be, everything that I say here is what the average Israeli would say. On the face of it, that's a completely ludicrous excuse. Like, if I was to make a video where I took up the position of the average Nazi in World War II, that would be fucking ludicrous to do. It would be obvious from the get-go that I'm essentially, like, making up a weird excuse to be able to state my own opinions as if they weren't mine, so that I couldn't be...
Here's another thing that Eris is going to talk about, is that, like, a lot of BE's examples involve Nazis and or the Holocaust, and I mean, I know what BE's doing. He's trying to find an example that we all know is wrong, like, right? And then, you know, say that, so this is wrong too. But you gotta be conscious of who you're, you know, I don't know, this is one of those areas where I'm just like, oh geez, BE, of all the, you know, metaphors you could have, like, you know, this is something I usually yell at debate bros about, is that, like, you know, they'll come up with a thought experiment or metaphor that's kind of, you know, it's not cognizant of a trauma that a marginalized group experiences. And I think that there's maybe an argument to be, you know, made here for that. Do I think that BadEmpanada is dog whistling, though? No. I think that he's just trying to find an unambiguously a example that we'll all unambiguously see as wrong, in order to, you know, say, you know, and it has these parallels, therefore isn't this also unambiguously wrong, maybe on a different... But anyway, like, you know, this is just what I've learned as a content creator, you know, the back and forth with, you know, when you're having this kind of oppositional content, you've got to be cognizant of the way that you phrase things, the, you know, metaphors that you use and everything else. And just in general, as, you know, a courtesy to, you know, to people's, you know, sort of cultural trauma, right? I don't know. I don't think that's too much to ask for. You were watching The Princess Bride earlier? Oh, wow. Wait, where is this coming from? Yeah, wait, The Princess Bride is cool, but, like, I'm just like, where did this come up? Oh, what's up, Scout? Not a fan of those examples. Yeah, like, and, you know, it's just, it gives your, you know, opponent something else to, you know, talk about, rather than having to defend some of the indefensible takes that she had.
Called out on them. But in this case, she's like adding that excuse in there post hoc without actually even remotely stating that was what she was doing in her response to this video. It's an absolute ludicrous assertion. Like, she says, I think, to me, so many times in this video, making it very clear. I think. This isn't her opinion, yet she says I think literally every 2 minutes. Like, give me a break. I think. See, when she takes on the position of, like, the Israeli state or the average Israeli, she says this.
I think Israel would probably say, oh, well, what about all the Jews' financial reparations?
I think Israel would probably say. That's very different from I think and then a statement. It's obvious that in this video, like, absolutely not even remotely doing what she says she is, doing what she said she was doing in her post hoc excuse. She is stating her own opinion multiple times about essentially that she thinks that, like, Israel has to remain an ethno state. She's clearly an ethno nationalist.
Status with the right of return. I don't think Palestinians can ever get the right of return, because as Vox mentioned, there's over 7 million. Those 700,000 have now become 7 million in terms of their descendants. I don't think there's no room. They can't come there, and Israel still remain a majority state. So the only solution to me is, if you think that Israel is the cause of the refugee problem, are financial reparation.
Like, come on. I think to me. I should say it's opposite anymore, right? But we'd all love to get to an area where, you know, ethnicity, religion, and all that stuff matters very little. But to me, it's kind of crazy to expect people to be like, well, you guys have to accept. To me, it's kind of crazy to expect a people.
Oh, geez, yeah, I don't know about any issues on YouTube.
To accept, you know, the ethnic character of their state being diluted. That's what she says here. It's kind of crazy to expect that, specifically in reference to Israel.
Everyone, and then watch that majority population turn it into an Arab pan state where Jews become second-class citizens. And okay, like, you guys should just have to deal with that, right? You just have to take the hit so you have the moral headway. It makes sense in a world where there are tons of ethnic and national and religious states, right? To at least have one for.
She said, I think, okay, and then here she says, to me.
Your own, where you're safe, at least for just
one
country.
She's like, to me, I think.
I think that that's totally valid.
She thinks that's totally valid. She thinks that's totally valid. She's not speaking as some mythical average Israeli here. That's her opinion, stated clearly. Her post hoc excuse is absolutely fucking hilarious. Honestly, I've never seen anything as ridiculous as, anything as grifty as this.
It is a bit of a retcon.
Someone outright stating their opinion and then later trying to dial it back by coming up with a frankly absurd excuse that this entire video she was actually just speaking as the average Israeli and not giving her own opinion, even though she clearly was. That is grifting. Changing your opinion because you think that it will go poorly for you in the like political Twitch circle that you're in, which is generally pretty pro-Palestine. She thought like, oh shit, if they think I'm an ethno-nationalist, which she is, going off her opinions here, if they think that I'm an ethno-nationalist, that would be terrible for my brand. I gotta, be dishonest about what I actually believe here and make up some obviously bullshit story about how I was talking as the average Israeli for that entire video, something which I do not say at all in that video, or indicate in any way at all. But anyway, obviously she is completely ridiculous, and it is ridiculous that these people, like, are so invested in defending her. Like, they somehow eat up this completely made-up post-hoc excuse that is like essentially nothing more than a defense of her brand. And you can tell that she's obviously a massive grifter to just change her opinion like that. Like, immediately do a complete 180 and be like, oh, no, I never actually believe those things that I said that I believe clearly by saying I think and to me multiple times. It's very similar to like a corporate brand backtracking. There's a reason why people like her and Vaush, etc. get along. It's because fundamentally they're grifters. Israel-Palestine is a fucking... It's not negotiable. I would never promote someone who is a Zionist, pro-Israel like she is. Pro-ethno-nationalist Israel at that. That someone like Vaush, who does have the correct opinion on Israel-Palestine generally, nonetheless is happy to platform this person, give his huge audience, expose his huge audience to this person and present her as some sort of, reasonable opinion haver who's worth listening to, is disgusting.
I mean, if you believe him, he just accepts her story that she didn't mean any of this. It was all a descriptive statement. None of it was... What she does smartly is kind of like puts it into a narrative that Vaush recognizes. And Vaush recognizes the narrative of being clip-chumped, right? So that's part of it. And Vaush recognizes the narrative of making descriptive claims that get taken as normative claims, right? Or at least Vaush would say, like, yeah, that's like, right? So he just kind of was like, okay, yeah, clearly does not mean these things. Clearly she agrees with me on Israel-Palestine when it's not the case. And you can ask yourself, does Vaush know that's not the case? And he's just kind of accepting that? Or, does he... I mean, legit, though. I don't know what your life is like, Vaush, but if it's anything like my life, you might not have time to know about every streamer, right? And that can have some interesting results, right?
And it really just shows how much of a grifter he is and how little his supposed principles actually matter to him.
It can be very harmful to your own side, right? When you're the gatekeeper of the social club on the left that you said didn't exist. It turns out it did exist, but it was your social club, right? And that anybody who doesn't stan you is not a real leftist. That is the thing. That is the new fucking bar for leftists. Is like, you gotta stan Vaush. If you're gonna be a real leftist, stan Vaush. Wait, how do we get back on BadEmpanada? I was trying to click on... This guy right here. Okay, does anybody know why exactly is Vaush trending? I'm not gonna go for that bait though. I'm not gonna wait. Okay, I've got this video open somewhere. Oh my god, here we go. Alright, chat, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. None of you... We're gonna get through this together, though. Somehow. Oh, okay. Interesting. So this is actually not a video on his channel, but it's one of the clip channels that, like, if you're to understand these clip channels, right, for the most part, they are not, like, run in opposition or, you know, without the express intent of the creator in question, right? The clip channels help spread their name. It helps, you know, get them popular, so they like the clip channels. There's clips that they would want to make, but they don't have time to make, and the clip channels make those for them. And sometimes the creators will give the clip channel special exclusive stuff. So for the most part, you know, there's usually kind of like a partnership, you know, and unless it's a channel that's obviously showing clips that are meant to be seen in a critical light, right? Most of the clip channels are, you know, friendly with their respective creators.
Hello.
Hello.
Then back.
How's gaming?
Doing
Oh
okay.
wow, we're really
But,
quiet.
There is one problem.
We're really quiet here.
Well, I recently entered a call with a person who thinks that Israeli blood must be preserved through the ethnic or something to this effect, through the ethnic exclusion of Palestinian people. I'm honestly shaking and crying and shitting right now. So what happened?
Oh my god, I don't know which clip, forget which clip you saw, because there were like 3 or 2 that were circling, and I'm trying to remember like the details of what I said in that clip, but anyways, if someone watched the whole stream, the purpose of what I was trying to express was, like, I was talking about my perspective on Israel's perspective, right? So it was like, okay, Israel...
So this is the retcon that BadEmpanada was talking about. Now, was she talking about, you know, her perspective on the perspective of the average Israeli voter? I think on, like, 1 or 2 things, yeah. But, there was a lot of other things that were, like, I think that were, you know, statements of, I guess she's going to describe them as normative claims rather than descriptive claims. In other words, ought statements rather than is statements. So
Israel cares about demographics, right? I wasn't, like, saying that it was a good thing that it cares about demographics.
Mm-hmm.
So I was making, like, a descriptive claim, right? And they seemed to think that it was a prescriptive claim, that I was saying that so it's a good thing that Israel cares about demographics, or it's something that I personally care about. And that when it was, like, very clear that I was demonstrating how Israel cares about demographics, and so because of that, there are some things that are not feasible within the peace negotiation process. And so, like, but here are some solutions that are feasible. And so, like, that's kind of like what I was talking about. But because I was making, they seem to just misunderstand that, like, if you just, like, saw that section where I was kind of talking, because, like, the way I speak and the way I'm often communicating, you know, like, perspectives when I'm, like, teaching people about history or something, I'll be kind of, like, giving their perspective in that moment, right? And so, like, that got clipped completely out of context. And yeah, and that's why, like, if you watch, like, the video, even just if you watch the 10 minutes around it, it's very clear what I'm talking about. So
Yeah, I've learned that lesson the
Yeah.
hard way myself a few
yeah, good point, dialectical vegan. This is the thing, like, they've done this. They've appeared together, you know, to circle the wagons, to, you know, kind of protect, you know, to basically give Eris, you know, a little more exposure that might make up for any sort of negative, you know, corrosion of the brand that happened as a result of these clips circulating. But because they both have a liability on this issue, right? Because they both have, you know, are kind of bad take machines on these, you know, these issues, they're gonna potentially expose each other to more brand destruction, right? So it's hard to know which way it'll go, if that's the way it'll go, or but it doesn't seem like BadEmpanada is going to be backing off, right? And it doesn't seem like Eris is going to be backing off. So this is going to be a drama for a while now, I think. The things that are not feasible include equal rights and return for Palestinians, because demographics, of course, I know, right? And it's almost like this weird, like, the way that, like, capitalist realism truncates the Overton window in the United States, right? It's like this sort of narrative about even if it is just a narrative from the perspective of the average Israeli voter, is meant to sort of truncate the window on solutions for Israel Palestine.
Few times the let me talk about this horrible thing another group of people believe from their voice.
Yeah.
Because it would sound good, like, rhetorically, for me to deliver it in that format. I've learned that lesson. It's.
Oh yeah, she said a bunch of So that's the thing, is she'll claim that it was like, she's claiming that it was all a descriptive claim, right? And in truth, she did make maybe one or two descriptive claims, but there were also a lot of normative claims. There were, I believe, there were statements that she did get behind, and she's kind of trying to, like, fold that all into, well, on one thing I clearly meant, for the average voter, and when in reality for a lot of other things she was espousing that viewpoint as as an I think, I feel, I believe type of statement.
Definitely an important one to learn, I think.
Yeah, and I do it so instinctively. Like, even tonight I was streaming and I did like an impression of BadEmpanada, like with the Australian accent, and I said some vile things that way, and I was like, fuck, I just did it again. Like, even though I was trying to make a point about how ridiculous the shit he says is.
Yeah.
But
Chat's suggestion is that whenever you're going to do that, you do it in a ridiculous accent. I have no idea what an Israeli accent sounds like, but for BadEmpanada,
I can so easily become racist though, so I'm a little scared to do that.
Yeah, true, but at least
They're both so cringe, but in slightly different ways, right? Like, Eris is like, wait a minute, Vaush, don't drag me into this bullshit, this fucking.
at least it's more fun when you.
But I mean, I guess, like,
Yeah. Anyway, well, I'm sorry about the merciless clip chimping. I saw that. What's her name? Etrias.
Yeah, defending Palestinian existence is classed as ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Apologized.
Yeah, it was really nice of her.
And I mean, like, listen, like, I've said before that there's issues where Vaush caters to conventional wisdom over, any sort of consideration for marginalized people, right? And that works for him, because there's a lot of people that don't go beyond conventional wisdom, right? So when the truth is at odds with conventional wisdom, a lot of times Vaush will go with a conventional wisdom, and then everything else he'll have the standard, like, lefty position. And this is sort of how Vaush has the effect of moving the left a little over to the right, just by virtue of kind of redefining what leftism means, and catering to those kind of, like, DGG type of sensibilities, and thus maybe dragging people that were with him for his lefty views back in the day along with him. Now, some of them are peeling off, like I said, but it's overall that this is part of what I'm worried about with Vaush. And then with Eris, you've got, like, a different kind of thing where she's not a lefty, but she, in some ways, I don't know, gets along with lefties easier than maybe she would with righties, and sort of, she ends up just kind of normalizing certain viewpoints that are really, in the case of what she got clipped with here, like, quite nationalist, right? Quite, into the left, right? And then it's like, okay, so now this is a discussion. Before it was like, a question of how do we get to a one-state solution. Now it's like, well, should we even care about a one-state solution? Or maybe Eris is right, and the political realities on the ground are just like, we get that out of our mind, because I don't know. So yeah, they both have the effect of pulling the discourse to the right. And if anybody wants to know what gets a video made about you, an oppositional video, right, made about you, that is it. That is mainly it. Is you're pulling the discourse to the right. You're doing things to the discourse that harms marginalized people. That's the kind of shit that gets, you know, my attention, right? That's the kind of shit that I like to make sure to report on, right? It's a lot simpler than people seem to think.
Yeah, which surprised me.
Yeah, I was like, wait, someone on Twitter apologized? Like, I don't know who she is or anything.
She's an insufferable, like, ultra anarchist ideologue, you know.
Oh,
Sounds pretty based.
Every time I see her on the TV,
If Vaush hates her, she must be cool, right?
yeah, it's something like, you know, actually, yes, socialists would abolish time, or something like that.
Based.
That, you know. So I'm being facetious. I like her, but anyway,
Wait. Did I just get trolled? Wait, Vaush likes her? Okay, wait, did he just troll me? I thought he was really going hard on this person. Okay, I
was surprised
trolled.
by the apology. So you said that your videos have been degraded?
Was I trolled?
yeah, on YouTube.
I still can't tell.
Ever since he's been making videos about me like nonstop, and everyone told me to just
Who's the insufferable ideologue? I want to meet them.
ignore him.
I know, compared to like somebody that just like adapts their views for whatever they think that their target audience is going to be interested in, for somebody that like takes like leftism and turns it into Play-Doh to mold to the desires of the DGG crowd. No thank you.
But
Which
the
one?
more I
BadEmpanada.
ignored him,
Yeah, hardcore. Well, yeah, I mean, like, this is,
yeah, but like the more I ignored him, the more like a lot of people started to buy into his narrative because I was never responding. And he was just like, there were a lot of things that he was saying
Vaush does a little trolling.
that were just completely untrue. I God knows, I probably say some of the dumbest shit sometimes, and I'm sure there's so many valid criticisms, but like his main criticisms about me were just things that were not true, like that I was white or that I'm like a criminal from apartheid South Africa.
I mean, he did say those things, but I'm not sure those were the main criticisms. I felt like that wasn't the main criticism about your take on like the Western civilization. I think you're kind of leaving out the main criticisms, Eris.
Even though I wasn't alive during apartheid, like shit like that, that is now being spread.
I mean, it's a good thing the effects of apartheid ended when F.W. de Klerk became vice president for Nelson Mandela, therefore symbolically restoring all the justice that had been deprived of. Oh my God, no. Hey, you can read about South Africa and that transition, right? In Naomi Klein's Shock Doctrine. There's a chapter about South Africa, and a lot of people don't realize that the Chicago Boys, the same people responsible for Pinochet's economic theory, were in the ears of the newly elected government in South Africa, right? And that there was a chance to go more aggressive with their economic reforms and try to, achieve some kind of a parity for Black South Africans, and it was forgone much on the advice of said economists who were unfortunately consulted by the ANC when that happened. So,
like this weird.
Please abolish time. I want to G2B.
Maybe it's just my mind that I pinpoint all the negative stuff, but yeah, it seems to be like a lot of people are believing the stuff that he's saying.
So you do deny.
I mean, chat. There's a part of me that wants to abolish time. There's a part of me that wants to compress time. But usually I don't like
the white allegation.
Yes, I am not.
Usually I don't go full Ultimecia.
Wait. It's apparently a terrible thing to be white, and so I'm very grateful.
Here we go with the fucking ironic douche memery about
have you considered calling him anti-Semitic?
The way he said that.
You never want to be that person.
You might eventually, though.
I mean, if somebody's being anti-Semitic, like, what's the problem? And B, you know, like I don't know. Anyway,
Eventually, you might want to be that person. I take great pleasure in calling.
I mean, she's called that out before. She's definitely called out a lot of anti-Semitism.
Pseudo leftists anti-white.
I haven't really looked into.
Eventually, it actually is the most fun option.
You know, there was one time though that where she called it out, and I believed her, and I was wrong. Chat, Lasu, I don't think is anti-Semitic, but I you know saw an Aristocracy tweet, and it was convincing. It had some, you know, chat logs in it, and I bought into it, and you know joined in that dog pile. I really should have looked into that.
He did
So,
say,
yeah,
like,
I
I
mean-
was watching one of his videos, and he did say some, like, kind of JQ sassy stuff. And I, like, and the fact that
What did she say? She says she is like. I don't want to get it wrong. But something like Central Asian ancestry or something. I don't know. But like, yeah. I mean, she's a VTuber, so you know. I mean, like nobody's seen her. You probably shouldn't assume that people are white. But
And he
it
just
is unfortunately normalized in online spaces.
totally, like, discounts. He also, like, every time he gives me an analogy to demonstrate how evil I am, it always involves, like, the Holocaust, which feels pretty gross.
Feels like he supports the Holocaust.
No, Vaush. No, it doesn't feel like it doesn't fucking listen. That's a pretty strong claim, okay? That should require some stronger evidence than like just like I don't know, I think he's a bad dude, so probably supports the no. You don't just like throw out, yeah, I don't know, maybe the dude supports the no. This is what's gonna get my video demonetized, by the way. We just like, yeah, I'm so glad I didn't even try to monetize this video. I knew there's no way. No way we're monetizing
I'm sure he would
this.
say he doesn't, but the fact that every analogy is always like the Holocaust, and he knows that I'm Jewish, he knows that my grandparents are survivors, like it just feels like he's particularly trying to use my history and my oppression against me, and it's just really mean because I never came after him. I didn't hate the guy. Like,
Oh my god, did you just Zaworo? Did you just pause the stream? Okay, everybody, we're gonna pause the stream for a while. No, just kidding.
I don't
got
know like, where this came
Zaworodos.
from. He just suddenly started
We
being
got Zaworoed.
really aggressive in
Zaworo did? Is that the past tense?
my chat. I was talking about just. It started when I was talking about
You're almost sure that she actually is white, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, I have no
how
idea.
I liked some aspects of Canada, and this was after going on stream after stream talking about the various genocides that have happened to Indigenous people in Canada. And so, like, I kind of wanted to give other perspectives since it was something that we were always talking about. I wanted to talk about like an immigrant's perspective on Canada and some of like the positives that Canada brings to the table. And he like
Yeah, I know what you mean, Umar.
assumed he just hops in, he hears
There's a lot of that on the internet. Yeah.
that, and he just says that, oh,
And some of it's pretty, you know, transparent and cringe. I've definitely seen that
you're
before.
justifying, so I guess like
But,
the
yeah, I
genocide
don't
of Indigenous
know.
people is okay because you get to live a happy life. And that's not what I was saying at all. And then yeah, he's hated me ever since.
He's
Wait,
like
why don't we
Cuban
have
here. I
like
really wouldn't
chat
worry about
on
it too much.
screen?
As for the
That's weird.
as for the perception that like
Oh,
people are
okay.
turning against you narrative wise or something like that.
There it is.
I think that it's important to remember this, okay? This is like an object lesson in any like large or medium sized streamer. It's whenever you're having an argument with chat or you feel like people are really dogpiling you, and you feel like you see like a ton of hate in chat and you're thinking like, oh god, you know, what you can do, what everyone does this eventually, you ban 3 people and all the hate in the chat is cut down by 80%. We don't actually register where the hate comes from. We just get kind of a vague understanding that we're being attacked from other people.
Yeah.
So if it's in this case, I mean, I don't know obviously, but I'd be willing to bet that it's probably not a representative sample of people's opinions towards you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like
This is
I don't know, I already have some low self-esteem, so it's like very easy for me to, my mind just naturally has a bias towards looking at like the negative comments. But I honestly, I feel like I can handle a lot of the hateful comments. If people criticize my actual views, like I kind of welcome that stuff, even if they're really mean about it. It's the lies that I didn't, and I expected to get that stuff as a public figure. I was like prepared. What I
like, she lies about other people. She's lied about me, right?
I wasn't.
Like, we caught one of her mods, like, saying that she had witnessed me saying something that Eris claimed that I said. And then we found a little bit of the chat from that night, and it turned out that mod was there at the end of the stream after Eris had left, after Eris, I think, had been banned or something, right? And they said, what's going on? I didn't see what happened, right? So it was like, just like you had one of your mods lie for you, right? You're not uncomfortable with lies. You're not like some babe in the woods. Eris, please, like, don't play innocent when you are. I've seen you, like, brigade people, like, you know, you're anyway, like, why am I this is toxic, chat. This is really fucking toxic. Like, somebody accused me of girl boss gaslight and gatekeep the other day. I don't know, chat. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but maybe something more like this. Maybe more like something like this, right? Where you sort of sell this perception of innocence, you know, while you're just going after people with the most horrendous character assassination you can muster. And you know that it's not true, right? You have internalized the logic of the worst of the debate bros, right? In terms of, I can't win the argument, so I'm going to try to make my opponent beyond the pale. And if I have to do that by ship of Theseusing the fuck out of the truth to the point where it's not even recognizable, so be it, right? No, I don't buy this claim of, like, you know, I had no idea that stuff like this could happen. You do this shit to people. You have every idea that this shit can happen. I think maybe you just don't expect it to be done back to you, right? Because you seem to have a certain entitlement when it comes to that, right? That you don't extend to other people. When somebody has much lower standards morally for themselves than they do for other people, watch out for that person. And watch out for this person, right? Because Aristocracy absolutely lives that.
And I should have been prepared for this, but I just didn't expect people to be, like, lying so much. Like that. Like,
Yep.
just making up stuff.
Also-
That kind of...
Sometimes gatekeeping is bad, therefore yeah, that's a good point, because, like, with Vaush, you know, like, he does the gatekeeping, but it's kind of weird, like, the way that he sort of will be like, yeah, shoe on head, totally, you know, like, leftist, right? Clout, not so much, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, he's the one that gives the passes for the people that have been on the atheist right, that want to kind of be like, okay, that's dead now. Can I come over here and make some money over here? Just talk to Vaush about it, I guess. Vaush is the guy that, like, you know, can hook you up with that. As a concept, it's not abhorrent and total. Yeah, look, I don't even know. This is the first time I've ever heard that phrase before, okay? But, like, it's weird that it's applied to me, because, like, I'm not even the fucking boss of my own space. I have, like, incredibly weak boundary issues, and I generally, like, I let people push me around. I'm anything but a girl boss. I'm a girl bossed.
drives me crazy.
Preparing for it intellectually is not the same as actually dealing with it, right? You know?
Yep.
Because every time this happens to me, like I see super bad faith or dumb shit or whatever, I'm like, okay, well, I knew this would happen. But you can tell yourself that, but that's not really the...
You know, the atheist right became the mouthpieces of Gamergate. Absolutely, absolutely. It's been an incredibly right-wing space for a long time. And now that the hype around that has died down, a lot of those people want to find a new audience on the left, right? Want to disassociate themselves with what the right has become in the United States modern day, because it's pretty obviously cringe, right? To be like, yeah, MAGA, right? There's not a lot of people that want to you know, ride that branding anymore, and so, you know, they try to get on the left, and Vaush is the person that they come to ask for admittance into the social club that is the online left, that Vaush, that is very much his social club. I'm an a-hole. I dare to any of these dumb to cross my boundaries. God, listen, I don't know. I just need to, I don't know. I have trouble, like, standing up for myself. Here's how I feel, chat. Here's how I deal in social circumstances. Like, when I'm in a social space with people, anything that I do that makes them like upset, that makes them feel like, you know, like I had this problem with guys, like, right, when like a guy would ask me to, you know, extend the evening, let's just say, let's go to coffee, and I don't really want to, you know, I feel like a fucking buzzkill if I'm like, no, I'm actually gonna get some sleep right now, you know, I've had a wonderful time, that, you know what I mean, or like, you know, like, I don't know, I just have this thing where if I feel like I'm being a buzzkill, if I feel like I'm ruining other people's fun, like I'll sometimes just like, you know, tell them what they want to hear, and it's really fucked up. It's really caused me like a lot of problems, and it's really not allowing me to deal with, you know, being a streamer very well, because you have to draw firm boundaries. You have to draw firm boundaries, or else you're not even doing your stream. You know, it's really easy as a streamer to just kind of fall into the influence of, you know, of people around you. And I had to learn that the hard way, that sometimes I don't make the best choices about, you know, who to include in that circle.
The same as like being emotionally prepared for the dumb shit every time. In reality,
You stand up for me, hire me, I come cheap, and I'll leave anyone who comes for. Oh my god, thank you, Umar. That's sweet. That's sweet. I've just been through like a lot lately, and like, I mean, my content's gonna change. Okay, just letting you know that. Like, I'm gonna try to do more uplifting stuff. I know people really like the interview with Professor Flowers. I feel like that is a model for the kind of interaction I want to have like going forward. We're still gonna do React content. We're still gonna do, you know, some debate bro cringe, right? But I don't want it to be the mainstay of my content. I want to make sure that I'm giving you some uplifting in addition to, you know, presenting the sick sad world that is Twitch politics, that is YouTube politics, that is debate bros, the debatosphere, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? I need to stop that. You have replaced gay male friends as everybody's best friends. Oh my god. So much hate comes from the same sphere, essentially conservative, cis, het, patriarchal, white supremacy, or at least serves that. Yeah. Willingly or otherwise. Chat, I feel like I did that a little. Okay, not... There's more egregious examples than me, but like I always want to, I never want to give him the implication that I've been perfect. You can go back on my timeline and find videos where I was like carrying water for Xander Hall, right? On you know, the issue of trans rights, and in some ways like Xander Hall is a better than average creator for trans people, but there's some real fuck ups that I didn't even know about, and when I was in a debate, you know, defending Xander Hall, I just kind of rolled over those like they were nothing, and in reality, you know, the interaction with Calvin Guerra was hugely problematic, and I was just blind to that, right? So I'm making up for lost time here, okay? I didn't get this. I thought that this shit could be reformed from the inside. I thought that all I had to do was become these people's friends, and I could get in their ear and be like, yo, that's a little bit like, you know, don't you think that you're kind of putting trans people at risk there? Oh my god, you try to make the smallest little criticism of these dudes, and you are fucking just god-fisted, you know, into submission to their fucking clout networks, right? They will hit you from every fucking side. They don't want any scrutiny. They do not want to be held accountable for anything. Like, they will silence you if they can. And chat, they almost did silence me. Like, right? I only came through that due to some help from some really brave friends of mine who put themselves on the line when everybody else was running away because they didn't want to have anything to do with the girl who pissed off the clout networks, right? I had called down the wrath of of God upon me, right? And nobody wanted to be my friend, right? And I had people reach out to me, and that's the only thing that, like, you know, saved me from just being, you know, unable to continue as a content creator.
Every time you do have that same internal, like, oh my fucking god, I cannot believe that this is the world that we live in. That same
I had the wrong friends, yeah.
reaction happens every
That's
time,
true.
I think, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm. Have you like had any safety concerns and stuff because of the hate that you've gotten?
Not really. I guess like I guess with regards to like the conferences.
Like, listen, I mean, I have got a clear vision about what I want now and what I stand for and who I stand for. but I don't ever want to present the wrong issue and act like I am some kind of perfect person. I have made a lot of mistakes in the past. I've been through a lot of trauma, and like some of those interactions can be explained by that trauma. But I don't ever want to be making that an excuse. When I make a mistake, I try to hold myself accountable, and I try to not cover it up or paper it over, pretend it doesn't exist, but learn from it and use it as an example.
Like the Freer Future Fest or whatever, or if I went to
oh yeah, that's
if I went to I know some
college libertarian
Dylan
thing
Burns went to the Jan 6 thing. I do have a feeling that if I ever went to one of those places, I would be chilling, even behind a mask. I'd be chilling, and then I'd hear from a distance, "Is that fucking Vaush?" And I would just hear really heavy footsteps, getting louder and louder, and that would be the last thing I would ever hear or see. So I'm gonna take a really quick break, Chad. I don't know. I worked myself up into a little bit of an emotional state. I'm just gonna get a drink, and I'll be emotionally deficient people who act out online because it's
more caffeinated than ever.
Simulating what it might feel like to have power in all the other situations where
they've never doxed your family or anything.
No, no. I mean, nothing that I didn't just provide on stream or anything like that.
I'm super paranoid about that shit. So I had a talk.
You're a VTuber. You've already gone to much greater lengths.
Well, that's the main reason why I'm a VTuber. And God knows, especially now with the race discussion, I don't know why it really bothers me, and it shouldn't bother me, but it really bothers me when people call me white. I don't know, maybe I've eaten too much of the lefty Twitter garbage or something, but I really don't like being told that I look a different way than I look. It's made me really tempted.
Yeah.
Oh God, I just want to take down a VTuber and just go on cam. But yeah, that anxiety, that fear is still really prevalent.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, I guess people always assume the default being white because white people are overrepresented in pretty much all online media.
Now, Chad, I gloss over this all the time because it's so normalized in debate circles, but you're gonna notice a certain arrogance here on Vaush's part, right? And it's almost like you've got teacher and pupil. Vaush is teaching Eris how to be an arrogant blowhard, right? He regards his chat as his bulletproof vest, right? Of nobody can touch me, and he's talking about when he's online, when he's streaming, he feels like he's got that. He's yeah, if somebody comes at me, I can just be oh, right? Because you got your entourage there, right? You got your chat. And then he says, but the tough part is when I'm offline and I don't have that, and he's feels a little vulnerable, and oh my God, there's so much in here. And then he's talking about how on the left we worship weakness. Now, I don't know if he's watched my take. I talk about dominance paradigm, right? I talk about it as being fundamentally incompatible with leftism, with solidarity, with, anything like that. That is the, dominance paradigm is, I'm going to essentialize it, it's right wing. That is where a lot of fucking right wing thought just stems from, is this concept of domination and. So I almost said domination and submission. You know what I'm talking about, Chad. I don't mean sexually. I mean in terms of power dynamics, right? And I always say that on the left, our power doesn't come from our strength, but rather from our vulnerability. Now, a dude like Vaush is gonna hear that and he's gonna say, "Aha! I knew it. You worship weakness, nocommentchick, and the left needs to be strong," right? And he's going to be the big buff Doge, he's going to be the buff Doge. But the truth of the matter is, Vaush, that is not real strength. Real strength doesn't get blown over, doesn't get broken when the wind blows too hard. Real strength knows how to bend, right? And you only got one gear if you're gonna give yourself over to dominance paradigm like that and worship essentially strength. And this is how debate bros work, is they gotta bring home the W time and time again, and if they don't bring home the W, then they gotta create the perception that somehow they deserved the W. That W is theirs, but it was taken by the evil opponent, did a basic debate tactic and took my W away, but really I deserve the W. You have to keep that perception up, right? You have to keep that perception of being a winner. And it's kind of I don't know, pointless. I would say it's fucking pointless, and it's not. Doesn't really lend itself to leftism that much, right? So what I'm trying to get at is acknowledging our shared vulnerability instead of trying to cover up with it by putting on like this ego shell of false strength, of flexing, of like invulnerability, of like, I got my chat here, you know, I can fucking say let's piss off the leftoids, right? I don't know. I feel like this is one stage of online left evolution that is approaching the La Brea tar pits, okay? This debate shit, bro shit, I'm gonna fucking call it out right now. It's cringe. It's cringe, it's tired, it's hacky. Its moment is over. I think that people are looking for leftists that can acknowledge vulnerability and can use that as a strength, because if you put, you know, we've all got different vulnerabilities, and we could try to deny them, or we could accept them and try to work together to ameliorate the effect of that, right? Which seems so simple, but this dominance paradigm is never going to lead you to a place of solidarity. You understand that, right? Like that, I don't have to explain that. There's no way in hell this gets you to solidarity. The things that you do don't just, you know, the things that you work on, the things that you the way that you live, it doesn't just have an effect on, you know, that which you're working on. It has an effect on you. And what if you're practicing dominance paradigm, it's going to make you more right wing. It's going to have that effect, and that's why debate bros suck. You know what I'm saying? It's not like an inherent thing of like, you know, debate is evil or anything like that. I feel like debate should be a natural part of discourse. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't agree. But when you take it, the debate aesthetic, as a thing in and of itself, as a good in and of itself, you end up with these kind of, you know, forced interactions where you don't want to interact with somebody unless you're gonna like produce some kind of sparks, and you're missing out on a lot of good discourse that way. And you're really kind of setting up your chat to always expect, you got to bring in that W, got to bring in that W, got to bring in that W. Guess what, Vaush? What goes up must come down. And you know, when it comes down, when the superstructure starts to rot, it's going to come down a lot faster than anyone expects.
Not that that's, you know, a fair assumption to make or anything. I think if you wanted to win those arguments, you could, you know, you could what do they do, like just taking a picture of your arm or something? Even that doesn't really work though, because
yeah, but my skin's really light.
Yeah,
I just have very non-European features, like, yeah, as a lot of Asians do.
Yeah.
Not that these people are good at debaters anyway. None of them would last in a college debate. That's true. The debate environment online is very, very different than any sort of competitive debating.
Yeah. The you could always go like the abstract approach, where you take a picture of your face.
If your chat is your strength, you end up like Haas, who loses them whenever he embarrasses. Oh my God, yeah, that's right. Whenever he embarrasses himself in front of girls.
You isolate all
and
the
then
facial
he has to
features,
purge
deconstruct
the shrimp,
and then rearrange them and edit them in such a way that you convey the ethnicity without any identifiable features. Or you could call them white if you wanted to. Like,
oh, I should just start doing that. It's easy because then you don't need to form an argument.
Oh yeah, very much so. And you could call BadEmpanada white. I think that works. I think. Wasn't he like Australian? Then he moved to Argentina.
Yeah,
literally
he's like a Greek Australian that moved to Argentina.
Imagine, literally colonizing. Disgusting.
All non-problematic countries. You know, he calls me like the evil white apartheid South Africa. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy.
Well, it's the future of intra-left discourse, if he could even be considered on the left with some of his bizarre.
Here we go. Vaush is going to tell us about who the true leftists are. So we gotta listen to the true leftist tell us who the true leftists are, right?
Our behavior.
Because Vaush is gonna girl boss, gaslight, and gatekeep the left. You know, that's.
Because as we know,
that's what he's here
left
for.
Is when you're cool, and he's just not very cool.
He's definitely not cool.
Well, apart from that.
Hey, this is me speaking to the Tumblr demographic, okay?
That bullshit.
If that exists anymore.
I I'm like,
Do I have any Tumblristas in my chat? Any
honestly,
Tumblers?
it's a mixed bag. I kind of had a bit of a depression kind of come up. Like I had some personal issues like
Hell yeah.
over the end of the summer. So I've been trying to get back into streaming, back into
I started a blog there, but I have not done much with it.
it.
I thought it would be
I've
about
had
like,
a
you know,
lot of growth
streaming and
lately,
stuff.
so that's been really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know. This hate thing's like really got into me. Like I didn't sleep for 2 days. Like literally, and I'm literally mean like I was up for 48 hours.
What?
Our vulnerabilities can teach us a
Because
lot
it
about
was
ourselves.
so
Oh my
peaceful
god!
up here, but now there are freaking communist invading radicals.
Communist invading radicals. Thank you, Borax3030. Thank you for the
In
follow.
response
Yeah, I don't know,
to
like-
the
Yeah.
online harassment.
I've also it's something I haven't talked about.
Oh yeah, should I do like a call to action? I'm supposed to do that call to action. Hey, if you like this stream, there's some things that you can do for me, okay? The first thing is click that thumbs up button to say that you like this, or click the thumbs down button if you don't like this. That's fine too. Either way, you know, just express, just be heard is what I'm saying. The second thing you could do is go down below and leave a comment. You know, maybe something that I'd left out here. Maybe something that you'd like to hear me talk about. Maybe just your opinion on this whole, you know, sort of friendship between the leftist Vaush and the monarchist aristocracy. I don't know. You probably have something interesting to say on it. The other thing you could do is sign up as a member. With the memberships, you get at least emotes. Even at the lowest level, we give you emotes. And if you upgrade that to Secret Halo or No-Com, you get even more. And it's going to be a big job for me to fulfill all those things. But I am a fulfilling mama, and I will leave all of you fulfilled, okay? That is my promise. So calling to action, all that stuff. Thank you so much for being here, and let's move on. Sorry.
On
Oh,
stream,
that
but,
sounded like an end.
for
You're
a
not
long
supposed to
time,
sound like
there's,
you're ending the
this
stream.
weird-
Not ending
I
the
don't know
stream.
what
The
they
stream
are,
is
but
not
they're,
over.
like,
Stream is
this-
not over.
Sexist, MRA, Turkish, anti-Semitic,
See, you can tell how bad I am at self-promotion. That is not my strength.
fascist.
I usually
That's
forget
a
to
lot
even
of
say
things to
anything.
I know.
I usually
It's a
forget
weird
to say
combination. That's
anything.
how I always know
Oh
it's
yeah,
them.
also subscribe
Because they have a very unique combination of
Subscribe.
insults. It involves me being a
if you're not
whore,
already.
me being Jewish, me not being willing to have sex with their brown skin, which is not true, and maybe not them, and a bunch of other things about being Jewish. It's very strange, and it's
People say you are known by your enemies, as if your friends aren't a field of red flags.
a weird combination, and like they are just nonstop harassing, like just constant harassment. They're trying to dox me, like
She's talking about like she says a Turkish fascist movement that's harassing her. I don't know anything
Really
about
hard.
this, but
What did you
and-
do to exacerbate this? Or what
what a weird question. Like, look, I'm not pro Eris, and I would not ask Eris what did you do to cause that harassment. That sounds like, you know, some
led
fucked up
to the
shit she's
attention
going through there.
of this group being drawn? on?
I don't know. They've just like decided that they have like this idea in their head. Like they keep sending me these messages about how like I don't want to have sex with brown men, which is it's just very strange. And it's like it's weird like incel kind of stuff, but sprinkled with anti-Semitism and all of that. And they keep sending it. I wake up every morning to a new account because they keep banning them, but like a new account with like just tons of Holocaust imagery of
The Grey Wolves, what is it, Chapo fans?
things like that.
Cool.
It's like very graphic.
You
and
know,
there's just nothing
these
I can
guys
do.
sound really desperate for your attention. You could probably honeypot them with like 2 sentences, you know? Like, I've changed my mind. I will fuck you. Give me your credit card information, and I'll head over right away. And you
should
could
do
work
that.
from there, you know? I'm just saying, man. They seem like they're
That's not about her takes. That's about incels.
they're really enthusiastic for your intention. It sounds like some incel shit, right? I always think it's
Yeah, it
really
is.
funny when non-white groups are racist, you know? Because like it's always like, who do you think that? Where do you think that?
It's a thing. It's a thing.
That road leads, okay? You do not
It's
live.
funny. Like I should make a. Oh God, I don't want to do it. Chat. I almost want to make a harassing Irene Geller like tier list of like my harassers. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't want to because I feel like that encourages that shit. I just try to ignore it usually most of the time. I'm like, you know, people always tell me, just don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
A globally Turkish
Supposedly, if
supremacist
you
world.
talk about
You live
it,
in a
it
globally
makes them
white
excited
supremacist
and
world,
they don't
okay?
go away.
If you open up that door, you're the loser in the end. Like, I just can't imagine like living in the world, you know, and being Turkish and thinking, yes, racism is a thing that I want more of.
But oh my god, the Coomers, they're like the low tier. Like in terms of what, like, you know, harassers that I'm worried about, like the Coomers are like, there's, you know, oh my god. No, because there's like probably some overlap between the Coomers and the worrisome haters too. That's like, yeah, I do have like a
This will not backfire.
decent sized thirst hate
What are you
following.
doing?
It's crazy. Apparently, it's a huge thing in Turkey. There's like a big fascist movement there.
Oh yeah, sure.
It doesn't encourage it. Look, at first it will cause a reaction, but when people know, they clap back.
Which is, yeah, I think a lot of countries that have like really huge empires in their past, they always have like these reactionary groups within them that want to reestablish the empire and, you know, I don't know, take all the Jewish women as slaves.
Yeah, Turkey has a really, really rabid fascist sort of surge.
If Lindsay Ellis had told her fans what was going on when it was happening, she would have had a literal army to put a cap in that crap.
I know they hate the Greeks as well, and the Greeks also had a pretty big fascist surge
I'm definitely a few soldiers away from a literal army, but
recently, so maybe it's like, you know, an old school rivalry, like they're gearing up again. There's going to be like the...
I mean, I will be doing a video talking about this. I'm just trying to put it together, chat, because I've never done prepared content before, and I feel like that's what it has to be. I have to do a video, but it's so hard to describe to you what actually goes on, because the harassment, the things that are really destructive, the things that are really scary, they're not what you think, okay? You know, it's not even what people say to me. That, like, because I have thick skin, I can take anything. They don't just fuck with me, chat. They fuck with people. They just anybody that, you know, anybody that's like associated with me, anybody that does content with me, anybody who hates me, anybody who loves me, just anybody who has any sort of relationship whatsoever. They're just like, oh yes, let's go fucking harass them, because they know that they could call me all kinds of transphobic shit all day, and I will just stay in my truth and smile at them, because I know who the fuck I am, and no dumbass troll is gonna convince me otherwise, right? But like when they attack my friends, chat, they cross a fucking line, and that shit pisses me off, and, you know, also lets me know who my true friends actually are, right? Because, you know, I think that the true friends are the ones that know the difference between you and a troll impersonating you.
Fucking Turkish Greek.
Which apparently
war. They're
some
gonna send,
people
like,
do
chariots
not.
and shit across the Mediterranean. How sick would that be?
You were part of fighting back against Gamergate. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, it's a fucked up thing. Like, you know, I've been, you know, targeted in some way for a pretty long time here, and it's had horrible effects on my community.
I'm getting like, that's why, like, especially today, I woke up to like a billion things of Holocaust
Vaush was Gamergate before he became a leftist. So was Xanderhall.
imagery, and then like all this hate on Twitter, and tons of my YouTube comments were just like every video.
I haven't heard of that cheek clapping.
You know, you evil white South African, like escaping your crimes of apartheid, and like all of this shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, like I can't escape.
Well, I'm gonna try to do a video describing it, but Chad, it's like, it's so hard to describe. I kept on thinking, like, just there's no metaphor. Like, the only thing I could think of is one of those things where, like, Superman there's some other Superman dude that looks like Superman, but he's not really Superman, he's evil, and he goes around fucking people up, and people are like, hey, Superman's bad now, fuck Superman, right? And then Superman has to be like, actually, it wasn't me, it was like I mean, like, you know, that's part of it. And then, like, I don't know, like, being a streamer is such a weird fucking occupation. It is so different than anything else, and it's so different than anybody actually thinks it is. And, like, I don't know, like, somebody's told me to write a book. Maybe I'll do something like that. But we're definitely going to try to make a video just talking about, like, what I've been through with the harassment, because it is the shit that happens to me. It's like on another level of what you think is possible. However you think, like, the worst harassment of a streamer could be, just dial it up a few notches, and then you've got what I've been living through for the last 6 months.
Keep it. Like, I'm getting hit by both sides, and it's not fun.
Don't worry, it's all the right. No, I
Oh my
I
God.
understand. I don't mean to downplay it or to minimize it, because even, I mean, at my size, like, I get more hate in total, but I get much less hate, like, experientially day to day. Because I have a large community that insulates me in a lot of ways, and also I can contextualize a lot of the stuff, like, oh, they're mad, but if 1 million people watch your videos every day, like, invariably some people are going to be upset. But it's really important to remember that this stuff
Times it by 100. Oh my God.
really only exists to the extent that you acknowledge it in a lot of ways. Not in all ways, but in a lot of ways. With regards to the harassment and stuff, one of the most important things that you learn is never name search as a content creator. Because
I do that all the time.
yeah, the temptation is overwhelming. Because it's like being in a... People don't understand how hard it is. It's like being in a room, and you know that in the room directly next to you, there are people talking shit about you right there, and all you have to do is put your ear up against the door. In real life, the temptation is irresistible because it's one room with maybe a few people, but online it's infinite rooms with a lot of people. So if you go looking for hate, you're always going to find it. You just have to put away the urge, And
In chat, this is like a hard video for me to watch because they're talking about being insulated by hate from a large community that comes from making yourself useful to a streamer with clout. So in other words, the thing that I was doing, the thing that I couldn't continue to do after I saw the damage that Debate Bros were doing to the trans community. I couldn't continue on that track. I couldn't walk a single step further. And, they're talking about how their chat insulates them, like they're talking about, how, well, Vaush is like, well, no, you just got to get rich enough so you can afford to live. See, you got to live in one of these buildings that's got got a door guard in the front. So in the lobby, there's a guard there. So, and just tell the guard, like, hey, don't ever send a guest unannounced up to my room. Like, just like no guests, please. Right. And then it's like, just like, okay, there's your solution. Okay. Be a rich fuck. Okay, good. Like, great. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh my God, there's so much like you thought being called the N-word was bad when I started showing creators how to protect themselves and they showed me the stuff they got. Oh my God, yeah. Well, no, it's not just that. They'll make an account that looks like your name and then they'll say that shit to other people. And then if the other people, are your friends, they'll come and be like, hey, this person's impersonating you because they know it's not you. But if the other people are your enemies, they'll be like, oh no, that's totally her. I know that's totally her saying the N-word to me. Yeah, that's right. They're in CC and her famous, like, strategic.
eventually, it does fade. I muted my own name.
Her gamer moments.
Which is funny in a number of ways. I'm actually usually the last person to hear about people being mad at me for that reason. But on the plus side, I can just browse Twitter as God intended, like an idiot, If people are mad at me, they can make it my business by emailing me. But outside of that, it doesn't affect me. So
my friends think I'm a narcissist because I keep searching my name everywhere. Like, I search in every
I mean, no, I wouldn't say that, like, name searching yourself is what, anyway.
Discord, on Twitter, like, I Google it. I'm doing all that shit. And it's just, and I won't stop until I find one hate comment. And then, I don't know why.
Well, it's
like
not,
this weird
it's not
impulse.
narcissism. It's literally digital self-harm. That's the term for it, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean,
up to a point,
there is a lot of fucked up shit going on right now on Twitch, right?
It's useful. Knowing if there's
something really rotten in Twitch politics, okay? And it's worse than I could have imagined, right? The stuff that's being uncovered right now by Diet Sockdem on Twitter is like, I we don't have any clear answers yet, but there's a lot of circumstantial evidence now.
drama about you can help you anticipate future challenges.
And that's all that I'll say about that, okay? Because I'm not trying to invite drama into my life ever again, chat. You don't understand. These people these debate bros, they put an image of me out there that I love drama, that I'm looking for a fight, that I want to cancel people. I want to stay as far away from the debate bros and their fucking drama as possible. Unfortunately, their discourse affects my material conditions as a trans person and a lot of, you know, the material conditions of my community. So I can't ignore it. And it also, you know, if I kind of do that, if I pull away, then that like gives them, okay, yeah, we drove her away successfully. Good job. We don't have to be accountable now. Somebody's got to fucking hold these people accountable. Somebody's got to, like, you know, point out that there is something fucking rotten here. There is something decidedly non-leftist in this, you know, online left clout network, right? There is the perverse incentives have completely taken over from the stated ideology of these creators, and at this point they should be regarded as just opportunists without much of a, you know, a real fuck given towards ideology. They're just, you know, doing what's useful to ingratiate themselves to people that can give them clout, like Vaush.
But past a certain point, it just becomes an obsession. I think Contra talked about this a lot. I think it's something she touched on. But anyway, the hate that you've experienced really probably is
and that's why I can't let
which
this
could be at least a little bit mitigated.
That's why I can't let go of the fight, you know?
If you took a different attitude towards it. That doesn't mean it's your...
People don't seem to understand that I am a vulnerable, open, honest person, a sweet person, and I'm also a fierce person. People don't see that those two things are one. People don't see that my fierceness comes from my love. It's not some kind of mirror image. It's not some kind of polar opposite. It stems from the same source.
Fault or anything. It's just
no,
hate
please.
online is a
I want to
fact of
steal
the
all
world.
your tips. Like, this is free therapy, so
Yeah, hold on. Let me see.
I'm down for it.
I would strongly suggest that you not get therapy from Vaush.
Videos got dogpiled. Would it be the I reviewed Vox's the Israel-Palestine conflict?
Yeah, that one was the biggest one, but they went onto all of them. I deleted tons of comments.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's like, I don't care. I'm just gonna delete them.
Oh, okay. Well, then I probably wouldn't be able to see anything. But, yeah, it feels like I'm trying to think. I'm very tired, so I'm seeing that. I'm trying to think if I can distill this advice down into something a little bit more pointed. For a long time, I deluded myself into thinking that the name searching that I was doing of myself was part of some kind of defensive strategy.
That's how I convince myself. It's like my job.
Exactly. Like, yeah, you can, if I know what people are saying, that I can defend against it, I can learn the argument.
I'm also a content creator, true.
99% of the time, this is just not the case. Because the arguments you already know about, right? When you wake up...
I don't know, chat. I feel like... if I had to describe the kind of gaslighting that I've been up against in the past few months, I don't know if I could even do that. Like, some of what I talk about on stream is just, like, trying to hold my own truth against, like, what seems like a tidal wave of lies about me, mischaracterizations, purposeful misinterpretations, and distortions.
When you see the hateful comments on YouTube or whatever DMs you're getting or whatever, you already basically know their contents, don't you? I mean, maybe not the specific phrasing, but the useful information is something you're already privy to. All you're really doing is repackaging it for yourself. It's information you already have. You might as well be rewatching a movie because you want to know what happens in it. Do it if it's fun, I guess, but you're not getting anything new, and it doesn't seem like you're having much fun for it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up, because I actually thought I was like one of the only public figures that did that. I thought like everyone else was smart enough not to.
Oh no, people do it all the time. You can see examples of it even in massive public figures that really shouldn't be. J.K. Rowling name searched, for example.
Really?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I pointed out before that Vaush and Eris to a lesser extent sound a little bit cringe here. sound a little bit up their own ass. I mean, you know, not trying to minimize their, you know, success or anything like that, but they, I worry that I sound cringe, like, whenever I talk about content creator stuff. Like, I worry that it just sounds, like, self-absorbed and, I don't know. Like, it sounds like this, you know? Meow. We don't think, any of that about you. Stick with the believers, even if non-believers seem to be friends. That's hard, but it's kind of important, too. You don't. It doesn't. Meow.
A ton of the like responses that she made, the way in which she handled herself.
I'm gonna try
there
to,
were
like,
big posts
I'm
about
sorry.
it that I don't really
Sorry
remember
for
the details of, but
being-
it seemed really clear that she was literally name searching. She was looking at the
This
every
is-
time she would go trending, seeing the top threads and responding to them, you know, implicitly.
This is kind of a watershed moment for me, chat. You know, like, they've thrown everything against the wall to see what will stick, and now their lies are starting to unravel.
Not directly, but in a sort of vague tweet kind of way. And she's a billionaire. I mean, she's
I don't
immensely
even know what's
powerful.
going on over there with my haters, but they're starting to hate on each other, and
But she's also fucking miserable.
far be it from me to get in their way.
So clearly, her you know, brilliant strategy is not working out to her favor. If I were you,
I tried to tell a Twitch streamer named Bad Buddy this. She compares herself to Shoeout because she has some bad stuff in her past. The difference is Shoeout did actual evil. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, though, chat, is, like, you know, I am, like, honest to a fault. Like, you know, I've even talked about the fact that when I was, like, younger, like, I would, you know, like, I am not completely unexperienced at hitting F5 on a 4chan link, right? You know, to update the thread and, like, right, you know, and it's not like I was one of those 4chaners that was, like, you know, saying racist shit or, you know, anything like that. I was kind of on there in a way before, like, Poll took over the entire board, and, you know, it was a cringe place even back then, like, right, even with the mix of left and right. But once Poll took over, it was, like, all right wing all the time, like, but, like, because of that, people will try to retcon my past and be like, oh no, she was part of Poll, no, she was definitely, like, it's like, oh my god, you have no idea how wrong that is, like, you know, right? I was on there mostly to post, like, thirst pictures because it was the one place that people would, like, appreciate my feminine beauty instead of, like, calling me, well, they would also call me slurs, but I don't know, it was a weird thing. So, like, I talk about, like, all the fucked up things from my past, and then, like, it just becomes fodder for my haters, right? They'll like, just make this whole thing up of, like, oh yeah, you know, those, you know,
I would.
oh my god.
I learn to look away when possible and look past when necessary, you know? When you delete YouTube comments, you're really only going to encourage them to double down. Oh, you know, she's censoring, her South African apartheid crimes must be exposed, blah, 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 blah. But leaving them up is like the ultimate indicator that you genuinely don't care.
4chan is horrible. I actually didn't realize. Okay, so chat, so I remember seeing on 4chan racist humor, all right? But I always thought that the joke was, how could anybody look at this trope and be like, oh yes, this, but unironically? I thought that was the joke. It turns out more than half of the people there were doing just that. This, but unironically, right? And I thought that the joke was laughing at racism. The joke was laughing at, you know, something that seemed to be distinctly, you know, obsolete. But holy shit, yeah, 8chan is literally, like, yeah, distillation of that toxicity.
At the moment,
oh god,
that's
I shouldn't even be mentioning
with
these
time,
names.
you care
Jesus Christ!
less.
The last time we talked about this stuff, we got a fucking raid. We got a raid from that. Oh my god! Shut up, Irene! Shut up!
If
okay,
you don't need to look at
look,
your comments,
everybody, knock on wood.
whatever
If you got
else,
wood near you, just give it a little.
There's nothing new for you there, you know.
Little tap.
I guess,
knock
like, I
on
always
some
have
wood.
this fear that someone is gonna say something that's, like, legitimate, and I'm gonna, like, miss out on some good criticism.
Oh fuck! Oh, that does not work. Trust me. You have to find people you trust and rely on them for your criticism, because the wisdom of the crowds breaks down for online figures.
You're just gonna, hey, you got no control over anyone but yourself. We also say dumb things when we want to be accepted. The debate bros are no different. It's literally, yeah, what created the alt-right. Early 2000s were so incredibly cringe online. Everyone was out of control.
It cannot work. There's not really, we don't have a good metric for independently determining the legitimacy of criticisms that we receive.
No, actually, I've been pretty on YouTube, like a lot less harassment than on Twitch.
This is
I don't
something
know
that
why,
drama
but-
YouTubers exploit
But
significantly.
the one time that we did have it, it was a pretty big, you know, it was a lot of people.
A big thing that they'll do
The mods were very busy that day.
when there's a content creator they don't like or they want to make a video dunking on or whatever, is they'll drag this person for 2 hours, and then they'll say like, oh, you know, if they get mad at this video or don't respond
It's
to
just
it,
criticism.
right, it's just criticism. That's on them. We're trying to help them. They're ignoring it. The problem with that is, apart from the fact that it's obviously just a way of justifying abuse after the fact, is that there's not really a mechanism for determining whether advice is legitimate outside of like it just being slurs or whatever. You can
Yeah,
probably
I
guess
feel
that
like
one.
I don't know. Like, listen, this is weird. As a person who's kind of followed like at least part of Vaush's career, like, I'm not sure you're getting the best advice here, Eris. Like, Vaush has chosen his path, and it's made him who he is. I would hate to think that every streamer out there would follow the. You know, like, I mean, they would though, because they'll be like, "Oh, Vaush is successful." Yeah. I mean, in a way, but in terms of representing what he came to this platform, what he came to Twitch to represent, I think he's very unsuccessful. I think he's basically given up on a lot of what he stood for in the early days, and just sort of like at every turn, his fragility stemming from privilege has been coddled and enabled by the worst elements of his community. And he thinks of these people as friends. He thinks of these people as the real ones, right? But in reality, they've done more damage to, you know, his enterprise than he realizes, I think. You were basically
You
shoe on
need to
head.
vet people or groups.
Well, I mean, like,
or-
I don't have an alt-right story to, you know, tell. I was never, like, I was politically, you know, kind of negligent, like, you know, when I was young, and then I was more, you know, kind of like centrist, right, and you know, trusting of the Democrats, right, and then I realized at some point that, like, you know, no, this is just Republican light, basically. After my experience with Twitch, I'm thinking almost every streamer is like that. I literally had a white woman go Karen on me while explaining why Karen is sexist. It was something. Oh yeah, good night, Vamps. Meow.
or institutions, but just searching out into the wilds will never do it for you. Just take it from me, okay? I've been criticized for a lot of stuff, and I've changed my mind on a lot of stuff too, you know. Maybe not as much as people would like, but in exactly 0 cases have I ever had my mind changed by looking at people hating on me online. Literally none. In the dozens, maybe even hundreds of independent instances of me having drama blowbacks against me, many of which were large enough to literally go trending on Twitter, 0 times did I ever get anything from any of it. Usually I wait for an email. Somebody with more education than me will email me saying, hey, I take issue with this, that, or the other, and I'll either bring them on or I will ask them to give me some pointers. The last time this happened was with reparations, where a guy came on and explained to me how, like, reparations and fixing systemic racism are not necessarily the same thing and probably shouldn't be. And he, in one conversation, was able to do more for my position than the literal tens of thousands of comments dragging me from my positions had ever before. Sorry, I'm rambling hardcore, but, like, yeah.
No, that
Yeah, he's more. Yeah, well, he has gotten worse, and that's in no small part due to the perverse incentives. I've seen people around me that I started off streaming with, you know, pretty much the same intentions. People that I'd look at and be like, yeah, this is a comrade. This is a comrade. This is a real one, right? And now they are absolutely part of Debate Bro clout networks, and they don't even remember who they were. They have been changed by the platform. They have been molded to its needs, and its needs are to take the bad take machines like Vaush and Aristocracy and somehow try to make that okay to your audience. That is the task of lefty streamers who want to suck up to clout these days, right? Is to take some fucking bad takes and try to make them make sense to an audience that knows better. So that's, in my mind, that is going backwards of where we should be.
It's such a good idea to just ask people to email you, because it's gonna already cut down the number. And the only types of people who are gonna do it are people who are gonna at least have some kind of formal argument.
That is not true. I've gotten emails from some people with some pretty weak sauce arguments that boil down to NCC bad. And I talk to them. I don't, I don't shut them out.
Especially because if their intention really was to criticize you, they would care enough to email you.
I mean, up to a point, right? Up to a point.
Yeah, exactly. This is it's the same with the drama YouTubers, Real criticism is a form of communication which is measured in part by its ability to positively affect its recipient. Criticism is meaningless if it's thrown out in such a way that it almost guarantees rejection. If you're criticizing someone, your points can be perfectly valid, but if you're throwing
bad to the bone
abuse in with it, you're doing it in a way which lessens the chance of that.
I wish I could play blues like that.
Taken,
or
which
blues,
means it's bad criticism
at all.
If they really cared, a private email has very minimal outrage potential, but a lot
of in my head.
Potential to positively affect change. That's the least drama bait way of handling the situation. If they can't do that, they probably don't actually care about your opinions improving.
Have you talked about this before, about the issue, your criticism of drama YouTubers? Because I actually feel like that would make a great video on your part.
Wait, Eris, how are you not a drama YouTuber? That's what I want to know. And Vaush, you too. Wait, what is a drama YouTuber that doesn't apply to Eris and Vaush? Who's an example? Who's if they're not drama YouTubers, who qualifies?
Yeah, well, a little bit, but maybe not this much. There was another video that I also really, really liked, which I guess I would recommend to you.
I don't think there's many people in Twitch politics who aren't drama streamers at this point.
Hold on.
There's a lot more drama being discussed than there is discourse.
Is it the problem with...
Oh, good night, Big Cub.
Drama YouTubers? Or something like that? Here it is. Everything wrong with the animation community critics. I've talked with this person on Twitter, Quinn Curio. They work for, I think, Daft Pina now, who is, funnily enough, a drama YouTuber, albeit maybe my favorite one. But the video is explaining how there's a very toxic trend on YouTube, but also broadly in social media, which is essentially people trying to posture abuse as criticism in a way that makes it impossible to actually meaningfully improve.
Okay, so here's where it gets really weird, and I'm gonna have to talk about this in some kind of video at some point, right? Could abuse be couched as criticism? Sure. And yeah, I guess I could say that some of the, when people get into talking about Vaush's weight, that probably fits the bill, right? But I'm pretty sure that Vaush is going to extend this idea to more than just people going after him on a personal level, right? I guess if somebody's, I don't know though, I'm a little bit uncomfortable about expanding the way that terms like harassment, abuse, darvo, these are useful terms. These are things that happen, and these are things that shouldn't happen. These are things that people don't deserve. These are things that people should be protected from, right? But the people doing those things can accuse you of those things too. And generally, if somebody's looking to start shit, they're gonna open with an accusation against you, right? They're gonna open with maybe even accusing you of exactly what they're doing to you. And because of that, you get these sort of streamers claiming abuse, and Vaush, you are super fragile when it comes to criticism. So when you say abuse, I don't know if you're talking about like real, kind of like a abuse, or if you're just like, just you weaponizing that term. This is the problem with debate culture. It weaponizes everything, even shit that it doesn't believe in. Like most debate bros, they're not big on ID poll, like whatever they call ID poll, right? Like, I guess it's usually termed as like a simplistic dumbed down version of intersectionality that boils down to 3 simple rules you can follow to never get canceled, right? That is generally like, what ID poll is, what is called ID poll, and they'll rail against it sometimes, but when it's useful, they'll just ID poll right up, right? They weaponize everything. They don't care. And that's what makes it hard to discuss this stuff, is that like, if I'm talking about like, abuse that I've had to undergo, if I'm talking about harassment that I've had to deal with, right, it's mixed in with a sea of people that are maybe doing harassment and opening with a charge of harassment, right? And people, I worry that the more I talk about that stuff, the more I'm gonna sound like one of those disingenuous people, right? That one of those toxic people that have learned to hide their toxicity behind a veil of like, woke language, right? And God, it's just so hard to discuss this stuff, because people like Vaush will absolutely recuperate, the language that's describing what he is doing to other people, what he is doing to people like Professor Flowers. He will complain is being done to him, and it's like it becomes a he said she said for all those, anybody that's not incredibly online. It's hard to really tell, which is real and which is disingenuous.
Pretty often from fat phobic people, right? I don't know if you've ever been fat, or if people have ever thought you're fat or whatever, but one thing that's really common is people will shit talk you for being fat. And
that's what receipts are for. Oh my God, Jesus Christ! And receipt culture. Don't get me started about that too.
If you ever lose,
do you know what you can do with receipt culture? I could make a link right now to like a Google Drive, and the drive could say like, so and so is a super meanie butt, right? Click return. That's all that's in the drive. You're a super meanie butt, right? That's my receipt, right? And then I could like ship that around and be like, hey, did you know that this person did all this bad shit? And oh my God, you don't even want to know. And most people will just see the Google link and be like, receipt. So whatever was said, that's true. And the receipt could just be repeating, the claim, right? So it's really weird what people will accept as a receipt. They'll even take stuff that is like incomplete, and it should be suspiciously incomplete. It's like okay, you're showing us certain information but not other information. Is there a reason for that? And it's like, oh, there's some excuse of like, we lost the information, and like we got the screenshot of the information, but as far as like what the actual content is, you can just imagine. And they will imagine, especially narcissistic streamers who want to think that like, I don't know, chat. This is let's get back to this drama and stay
and they act
out
like
of
they're gonna help you lose weight.
that drama.
Exactly. They're like, look, I'm just trying to help you, And if you do lose weight,
Too many
they'll chalk
Vaushes,
it up
too many
to
Jimmy
themselves.
Doors.
It was your hard work that actually did it, but they'll be like, well, you claim not to like it, but you're skinny now, so whatever.
Wait, what's
This
not what
is
you're saying?
really, really, really common. And this is just a politicized version of that behavior, I think. So I would highly recommend that video. I found it very calming. Also, it's just a fun video.
Okay, that's actually, that would be really good. Honestly, this has been really nice chatting to you, and it's been really cool having you like as a mentor with this stuff, because there's no guide on how to handle this stuff properly, and it's really weird I don't think like humans were meant to receive this level of, both positive affirmations and negative affirmations.
I mean, Eris, I wish you knew how much toxicity you've put out into the sphere. I wish you knew how much your victim blaming bullshit harms like other female creators, right?
And it kind of messes with your mind like a bit.
Oh no, 100%. Like unironically, we are biologically not designed to.
And you too, Vaush. You got no room to talk about this with the shit that you subjected Professor Flowers to. You got no room to talk.
to be able to appropriately manage that. We evolved basically in tribal communities, and everything past that is kind of abstracted. And
I don't know. Listen, I don't trust that people out there know what a fucking receipt actually is. Like, I think they'll take any kind of documentation of, like, aha, that's proof. It's like the way that people will use studies. They'll show you a link to a study or an abstract of a study or something like that, where when you actually read the study, it's like, oh wait, dude, not only does this study, does it not say what you're claiming it says, it kind of says the opposite. Like, it doesn't make a strong claim, but it implies the opposite of what you're saying. You literally grabbed a study that disagrees with you, and you're showing that to me as, like, proof of something. And if I'm like 90% of the people out there, I'll just see, oh, PubMed, I guess that's legit, right? Fucking PubMed link, that must be a receipt, right? And most people don't want to actually go into it and be like, is it a receipt? And if it is a receipt, if it is a study, how's the methodology section? Like, what kind of study was it, right? What is, there's a lot that'll get taken out of context and just cherry picked and just be used disingenuously. There are a bunch of oh my god, that's fucked up, Joni. You can't stop people from hating, but you can bring them proof of the real people and the real people will come to your side.
it's difficult to get more abstract than, like...
Well, actually, I can't, because that document, is something that I don't have. Like, I literally don't know what's in there. And, it's something that I've never looked at before. I haven't seen that folder architecture, and if I haven't seen the folder architecture, you can guess that I haven't seen what's in the folders either.
The numbers next to the video that I put out mean that people hit the button that means they don't like it, and the number is in the 3-digit. Like, that's it's we can't wrap our heads around it, on a fundamental level.
It's like she's almost there but not quite. Dr. K would be a much better option.
But I really do think
for
that's
a
something
therapist
that you can train yourself to overcome, at least to an extent, by mitigating the extent to which you come into contact with abusive behavior, not deluding yourself into thinking that it's useful critique in any way, and also, and this is important too, genuinely learning not to care. So, like, deleting comments and stuff, like, this is just a guess on my part, but I'd be willing to bet that sometime in the near future, people are going to use you deleting comments as an evidence towards your censorious inability to receive.
That was Vaush's calendar word. Censorious was the word of the day. Watch Sean's video, Jimmy Doris. Oh yeah, we saw that. That's how you bring receipts. Yeah.
Criticism. And when you
listen, that kind of compulsive shit where you automatically screenshot everything you touch, like, I don't know if I have it in me to do that. I don't know if you know this, but I have pretty bad ADHD, so kind of like the idea of me keeping anything in sensible files, like, this is the thing, the people that know me know that, like, like, even if I wanted to, right, if I had a if I had a dossier, it would be the sloppiest dossier out there. It would be like, a bunch of just disorganized shit, right? Just everything strewn in one folder or something like that, right? That's my style, right? So you can kind of, if you know me,
you're going to think two things at the same time. You're going to think, what a stupid point. I delete comments if I want to. And then you're also going to think, fuck, I kind of wish that I hadn't. Because whenever they make that criticism...
Oh, better source of advice than Vaush.
By
what
that
are we
point,
honest
you won't
about?
mind
Yeah.
the comments hypothetical
Of course you can be
existence
honest.
of your channel. But their criticism gives them the ability to sting you again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I didn't want the comments there because I just didn't want people to get, like, the false impression of me. I didn't want, like, the lie, like, right there on my video.
That's not
But,
to say
yeah,
it was
you
wrong
totally
to delete the comments or anything. Just a framework to take into perspective, I think.
I mean, trying to find, like, because I definitely need some therapists to talk to about various issues, but this issue in particular, like, just learning how to be a public figure and stuff. And I've grown a lot, especially in the last 2 months. Like, and I'm incredibly grateful for that, but it's also had like this weird blowback to my mental health. And I just don't know like how it's such a weird, how do you describe like what we do? And I don't know like how
this is something I relate
want
to.
talk to like a therapist that's like in our community, you know, or like understands
Okay, so that's
it.
what she's
'Cause I
talking
just
about.
don't know
Is
how
like
to
a therapist
describe
in our community,
being
like
like this online niche Twitch celebrity person within the like I don't know how to describe it.
There's always Dr. K, isn't there?
Yeah, but I feel like
stop blocking people.
maybe you can take Dark. I think I'm too small for
No,
him to know.
I'm teasing. It's not really good for therapy. It's more of like an audience exercise and learning from the problems other people have.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of therapists are going to be more understanding than you might expect. It's something that I've talked to, not with therapists. I don't go to therapy, but with psychiatrists, and they've generally seemed pretty understanding. It's a new.
The last time I left somebody who blocked me unblocked, she then unblocked me and triple fucking added me with just garbage that I couldn't even respond to, with a conspiracy theory that belied a tinfoil hat that was on way too fucking tight, okay? And she is somebody that I still care about. She is somebody that I have no desire to fucking go to war with on Twitter, and she is somebody that really probably needs to reach out and get some help, right? And so, no, you know, like the block function has some utility, but like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I use it that copiously.
You know, it's a new medium. It's a new industry. I don't imagine that they would understand. I don't think they're likely to understand fully, but I think there are some underlying commonalities between this and other more traditional types of stuff. Like, for its traditional celebrities have been their relationship with Theory has long been the subject of discussion. But you should at least give it a shot, right? In terms of like interpersonal shit, that's the most frustrating, because the average person is at best going to be like sympathetic to what you're going up against, but understanding is a whole other fucking issue, and a much more difficult one at that.
Yeah.
Have you tried to talk about that, like with friends or whatever? You said that your friends have called you a narcissist. Like, I think that demonstrates a misreading of the type of work that you do.
Yeah, my friends think I'm a narcissist for sure. That's always like the joke that like all streamers are narcissists. I don't know how true, it's probably, I don't know. Maybe there's a little truth.
I may have said narcissistic before, where I was describing the kind of streamer that would be interested in that thread, but like I probably should be using egoist or egotist more than narcissist, just because like there's a little bit of a issue I think Eris has actually gotten into before, where she starts talking about people's, you know, diagnoses and shit like that, and that is something you probably want to stay away from, right? That's you know, further adding a pejorative to mental health issues, which are already horrendously misunderstood. And but yeah, so when you say narcissist, it can, like, you know, certain people interpret it as having a clinical significance, and I'm not even sure if that's what she's trying to say here. Maybe she's just talking about the general quality, which is usually what I refer to when I say it, but I'm trying to move more towards saying egotist rather than narcissist, just to be clear about that.
Most streamers have a bit of narcissism in them, but I don't know. My group of friends is like very harsh in general, so sometimes it's hard to talk about this stuff. And I always feel, and if they do give me affirmations, I always think in the back of my head, well, of course they're just saying
friends,
they're just trying to be nice, but that's not the truth.
There's a kind of truth in there, in the sense that I think to be a streamer you have to be, at the very least, you have to be of the opinion that the things you want to say are worth listening to. But I don't know if that's a kind of narcissism. I think people mistake that, you know? So many people are so just like fundamentally unwilling to recognize confidence as a positive character trait that I think they lash out against it. You have to be at least a little bit confident to try and stream, right? Maybe not holistically, but in some kind of way, I think.
Oh yeah, I used to suffer with social anxiety disorder, and like it used to be like super debilitating for me. And but I did some therapy, like it was a long time ago. I learned some like CBT, not ball torture. But cognitive
This
behavioral
is an
Oh,
Eris
therapy.
that was
joke.
interesting
And-
You
for a
see,
second.
see how
Thanks for
she
thinking me.
crafts her humor.
I know
It's
that's
great,
my
isn't
chat.
it?
Like
It's
I
wonderful.
don't know, they're like obsessed with
Very
that.
funny, Eris. Very funny.
But but yeah, that helped me a lot. And it's crazy. Like my old therapist they would think it was so crazy that I can talk in front of like 1,000 people and be fine. So like while I'm streaming, I have like such confidence. Like I don't know, like I almost feel like you're on stage. Like the lights are on you,
Mhm.
you know, and you feel good. But then like it's the same thing when you're a musician. Like I get off stage and then I see like Twitter and YouTube comments and stuff. And
No, I totally get that. There's a kind of invulnerability when you're streaming. The chat is like pouring in. People are supportive of you. Mostly people in chat will be, on average, pretty supportive towards you. You're, you feel like you're on top of the world. It makes you like socially invincible. Even if a person shit talks you on another stream, even a larger stream, you have that rebuke. You're like, fuck you, and your people, your chat, they're watching you. But once you're off stream, that is all gone. In reality, though, that's not true. The feeling is gone, but whatever invulnerability you feel while streaming, the practical effect carries over whether or not you're actually streaming, Seriously, it does. Like what is it the concern? Somebody shit talks you and you don't immediately have a response. I saw you on Twitter the other night. You said basically that. It was, oh, I wish I could stream right now, or ooh, the temptation to stream right now is so strong.
Oh my god, I just wanted to press that live button so badly.
What kept you from doing it?
The feeling like
Yeah.
I was too emotional, and I know that if I do something on stream, like if I say something really bad or any kind of mistake, it's on the internet forever. Like that was in my mind, and yeah, and it also just not being in the middle of the night. I just knew that it was better to wait and sleep on it and then talk the next day.
Well, I think that's a very smart impulse of yours. I have had not that impulse at times in the past, No, seriously.
Like, what happened when you just suddenly turn on the stream?
Well, I had, it's known derisively in my community as the Thought Slime stream. I didn't just turn on the stream right then, but the feelings that I had carried over into the next day. I woke up and turned on the stream. And now a bunch of people think I'm a transphobe. So, know, your instinct...
You know what's funny is, like, I know what he's talking about, and, like, I was put off by that night, Vaush, okay? I didn't think that you were a transphobe, but I found it strange that you would blame your frustration on an interchange between you and one trans person on, like, all trans people. Like, I mean, I guess I sort of understand it. It's better that, like, basically it's like it's like the guy, who is the dude who, like, he got heckled or something and he started getting racist with people. You know what I'm talking about? It was like a comedian.
There was probably correct. I don't know how emotional you would have actually been, but at least it's something to watch out for. It's true, you can't erase that stuff. Though, with regards to how you must have felt, right? Like, you probably felt like, I wish I could stream because without that, I'm just sort of impotent in the face of all these false accusations. But
There's also
The Seinfeld guy?
like
The guy from Curb Your Enthusiasm?
this is gonna sound so unhealthy, and it probably really is. But I also I kind of wanted the support of my community. Like I wanted to talk to my viewers.
yeah, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. We go through a lot of
I don't
unique
think it's kind of like
stressors.
parasocial.
No. We experience a lot of unique stress as a product of the hate that we get being wildly disproportional compared to what humans are really meant to be able to tolerate. So it makes sense. It seems only
Michael Richards.
fair
Yeah.
that we would try to seek whatever benefits we could gain from the public persona. I feel the worst for people who have no platform to support them at all. The real victims of online bullying are the people who don't really have a platform. Like all those Gamergate era, like dog piles.
That's true.
Yeah, because they don't even have that. Like they are.
I mean, Vaush, you got a few victims yourself, right? A lot of the online left has many of the same characteristics in terms of being ready to go on a witch hunt as Gamergate, right? And they were coming for my blood not so long ago. So yeah,
as genuinely alone as you can be. And that's not fully true, because as much as I hate to do the cyberbullying take, sometimes even when you're in that position, just turning off your phone and looking away for a bit can be the best option.
he was Gamergate too.
Option.
Yeah, maybe he hasn't changed that
Not
much.
that makes the bullying justified, just it's something worth keeping
He's
in
just
mind.
convinced himself that he's good now.
But with regards to like how you felt on Twitter the other
That's what's so wrong with debate bro culture, is so much of what it does isn't advocate for marginalized people in any sense. It is to make privileged people feel better about themselves, right? It is to give them the delusion that they are the protagonist, the main character, the hero, the you know, Messiah, the Dune Messiah, right? Of
night, you know? Not telling you how you should do something.
A lot
or
of
how you
them
should
did.
Respond, but if you had tweeted out something like,
or former Gamergate
let's say,
people.
hey, seeing a lot of inaccurate clips posted around, relaxing tonight, gonna stream tomorrow.
Yeah, it doesn't take much for these people to go on a witch hunt. They don't have to have any real receipts. They don't have to have anything real. They just have to have a femoid in their fucking sights, and they will just project all the evil that they can muster onto her. They will turn me into the Zerg queen from fucking what is the thing? Starcraft. That one.
Dash. We'll clear
That
it all
one.
up! Exclamation point or something.
That star
That's what I
thing.
would tweet at least.
Like
There's
Star Wars,
an
Stargate,
anticipation there. It gives people in your
Starcraft,
community
yes.
an understanding that you're not floundering. Because I saw some of your tweets and they came off kind of like the tweets of someone who was guilty a little bit, you know? Because you wanted to. I'm guessing you didn't want
Oh my god, she did not like hearing
to
that.
engage on Twitter.
She
but
did
you
not
also
like hearing
kind of
that.
Felt like you had to a little,
Would you say, yeah, IRL too, white savior complex, it can be a real issue,
little bit
yeah.
Just this one comment, you know, just this one tweet. Response.
Wanting to feel virtuous in the trappings of an online left in general.
Which invariably turns into 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, there's too much of this concern about, like, you know, basically catering to the most privileged amongst your community. And when you look at the first incentives and the way that they work and, like, who are the donations coming from, well, that kind of corresponds then, right? You're gonna play to that crowd.
And then if you look at the overall impression that you've left, even if every individual
When the
tweet
white savior complex meets racism, it turns into a white savior movie.
was justified, in context as a whole, it all gives the impression of a kind of unhinged meltdown. That's not you. You didn't come off like you were melting down, but like that's an experience that I think I've had before, where you try to address it like piecemeal. But having a solid like message out there is good. Also, I think because it intimidates your enemies a little bit, it makes them have to prepare for you. It changes
What?
the
What's
dynamic.
Vaush saying? I don't understand.
People who are shit talking you online, there's nothing they love more than seeing that. No, this isn't true. No, whatever. But like a calm. Yeah, this is incorrect, and I'll respond to it when I can. That always gets them because they have nothing to say in response. The most they
Why
can
didn't
do
I
is
just
say
say
you
that?
won't. You know.
Like, it's such a simple sentence. I don't know. It just never came up in my mind. I was like, wait, they're believing things that are just not true. I've got to.
Chat, are they onto my new meta? Did they just like grok my new meta? That is exactly what I've been doing. Yeah.
Correct them. Like, I've got to.
And honestly, with this shit, there is still shoes to drop, right? There's still stuff going on here. Like there's more information coming out about the harassment that happened and about the people who tried to frame me for it. And I'm kind of waiting for, you know, all the facts to come in before I make a statement, right?
Correct them. Like,
Because I'm surprised at how much, you know, I've always said that this is the kind of thing where, you know, if whoever's doing it doesn't want to be found, you know, we're not going to get a hold of it. There's not going to be any way to tell, but there is more and more circumstantial evidence pointing in a certain direction that's piling up every day, right? And I'm kind of
And
curious
I just can't-
how much
We're literally
accumulates,
not designed to
let's
respond
just
that
say.
way because our brains are wired to manage this as though these were in-person interactions. And in in-person interactions, that doesn't really work as well, right? If a bunch of people are saying shit about you and you're like right there live in person next to these people, it's not as easy to say like, okay, let's address this tomorrow. Like, you can do that, but it's not something we default to. So I think in a lot of ways with online drama, we're really fighting against the impulses that would
Hello, Hank. How's it going?
serve us in interpersonal interactions, but hurt us a lot there.
Yeah, that's actually really true. Because like in personal interactions, I've learned to be very charitable to people who are upset with me or emotional with me and all that stuff. But I can't be that charitable with, you know.
Eris, I don't think that's a problem for you. I don't think you think that's a problem for you either.
Random people online.
Too charitable.
Yeah, no, and you shouldn't be, right? And they shouldn't expect that from you. I get emails all the time from people who have criticisms of
Do we like Vaush here? I mean, we don't
legitimately
really
think are good faith, you know?
Not so much these days.
For at least 3 or 4 a day. It breaks my heart every time. Because my answer is always this, like, I'm not talking about this with you over email, okay? This is a business email. If I talked out at length about why I believe what I believe with every person who took issue with any position that I hold, I would never have
I was a Vaush fan back in the day,
time
though.
to stream. I would always be responding to emails. People just have to accept, I think, past a point that their shouting does blur into the crowd, no matter how sincere or well-intentioned it may be. And when you know that they don't
After the Professor Flowers treatment,
deserve better than that, I think it'll put you a lot more.
that really put me
peace
off Vaush
with
in a big way.
your feelings.
Although I was starting to
towards the
have
criticism that you
doubts even
receive.
before that.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it does. Do you kind of look back? I don't know what it's like for you, because now you've been established as a creator now, like for a few years. Like,
Okay,
do you have?
I feel like most of the
when
rest
you see
of this
kind of
is
like
just
brand new
kinda-
creators that are just suddenly blowing up and created, like, do you often see them making similar mistakes that you made, and then you cringe a little?
Just kind of ass
A little bit,
kissing
but
here.
I don't really cringe because I feel like I'm the last person on earth who should be like mean or derisive towards a with regards to the drama, do you plan on how do you plan on moving forward with that? Are you going to do like a big response video? Is there like a big
I did a stream today about it, and might briefly touch on it again on Friday when I stream, but and then I'm gonna release a YouTube video from it. I think that's it. I don't
Gotcha.
know what your perspective on what I should do is.
Oh no,
Who
I
do
think
we
that's
like?
fair. I think it really
Maya's
depends
pretty
on the
good.
situation,
I heard.
For me, it's
Oracle of Maya.
this might
I heard she's
differ a little bit between
good,
you and I
actually.
because you
What's up,
aren't
Earthling?
the monstrous
Leftism is too arcade for me
drama
to know
hog
who's
that
right
I
and wrong.
seem to have become.
No more tears, only
thankfully. It's
dreams.
a very good thing. But what I've noticed is that in my
Professor
position,
Flowers is pretty cool. Yeah.
over-engagement with drama from people
Oh,
who are acting
Saint
in bad faith
Andrewism.
is usually not in my
Saint
best
Andrewism
interest
is really good.
because they don't actually care about the salience of their arguments, and neither do their audiences.
Tabernacle.
So when you have content creators who are constantly going after you over and over and over again, with dog shit takes or like they're just desperate for your attention or whatever, when you play into it too much, you run the risk of making their obsession towards you more monetizable than it already is. So this is one. It's essentially like the
That
content.
was what kept me from responding for so long, because he's like shadow banned on YouTube and he's a very small creator.
Okay,
and I was like, why am I-
can somebody confirm this? Like, shadow banned on YouTube. What? Is shadow banning on YouTube a thing? If so, is BadEmpanada shadow banned? Also, I thought that BadEmpanada had more, like, you know, maybe she's looking at BadEmpanada's second channel, right? Because I think his first channel has like 50K, 60K.
I shouldn't give this attention.
Curio, yeah,
But
Neil
there
Mulder.
can
Oh
be
yeah,
value
oh
to
hell
a bit
yeah.
of attention, you know. I think that it's really just a balancing act in figuring out like it's kind of like a tipping point where eventually they'll benefit more from your response than you will. I don't think you're at that point right now. I'm not saying that you shouldn't respond or anything. I'm just saying that eventually the math weighs in their favor the more engagement you have, because I've noticed this. There are people who are perfectly comfortable making it their life's work to destroy you, you know? They will literally like wake up and like dedicate significant portions of their life to make yours worse. But you probably, I'm guessing this, you don't
Depending on how closely you follow me on social media, you may or may not know who fits that description, but I am definitely not going to be
feel that
talking
way
about that
anybody.
subject in this video.
There is, there is no content creator who
They can cope and seed.
care about enough to even think of behaving in that way. And I feel the same way. I simply do not care. So it's about finding that balance and not overcommitting, especially because
Oh yeah, good night,
it's
Impact.
actually kind of like a game of
I
chicken.
don't think being Shadowbended is a thing. The would be Destiny. They had drama this week. Wait, Vaush and Destiny?
Really, if you bait them into overcommitting into criticizing you while not responding that much, you can be in this wonderful Goldilocks zone where you come off looking good because you responded just enough and destroy their argument.
See, now this is disingenuous, right? Because, like, I mean, there's a technique where you keep the drama off your main channel and you blow people up on other people's streams, right? And some people will take that. Some people will not notice the streams a creator does on other people's platforms, right? But they will notice something that somebody does on main, right? And if you're a small creator, kind of all you got is main, right? If you're on a blow up with a bigger creator, nobody's going to have you on to talk shit about them, but everybody's going to want to have them on to talk shit about you. So then that bigger creator can claim, like, look at this, they completely blew up on me and I didn't even do any content. Oh no, you were just on like everybody else's stream doing content. Yeah, we fucking see you. We fucking see through that optics bullshit, Vaush.
But they look obsessive with their
Is shadow banning ever actually a thing? I think that it can happen on Twitter, right?
constant responses towards you, and it just plays out.
And it's basically, you know, if somebody tweets, you know, stuff that doesn't really get any interaction but does get a lot of, like, people claiming it as spam or claiming it as, like, you know, I don't like this, you know what I mean? Like, I think there is a way on Twitter
favor, like, holistically.
for
Yeah,
shadow
I'm taking
banning to
notes.
happen.
Stay in the Goldilocks zone. This is
Eat your porridge.
golden stuff. Like
You
This is golden stuff that I'm eating out of your butt, Vaush. Like, you know, just like cereal, fucking pour your cereal in there, put some milk in there, just like, you know, oh man, this is some good cereal, Vaush. This is, I don't know why I have this image, dude, but this is so much this isn't just ass kissing. This is ass cereal eating. Like, this is on a whole nother level of ego gratification, let's just say.
You get what I mean, though, right? I'm not like rambling.
yeah, no, 100%.
No, Vaush.
I do.
100% Vaush, you never ramble.
Exactly what I'm trying.
No, Vaush, it's not cringe. It's totally good. It's totally
to do
good,
right
boss.
now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm succeeding because it's like the first time I've dealt with something this way. But that's why my friends told me I just needed to ignore him.
See, that's what I want to know. I don't know if it's a thing. I mean, like, I mean, is there something that, like, I don't know, like, if you do a lot of TOS or, like, you know, there's something that, like, I don't know. I actually don't know. I've never heard of it.
Ignore him completely.
Oh, and just understand about YouTube too. They are very opaque about the goings on. They've recently released some information about the algorithm that's more than they usually give us. But in general, a lot of it's kind of a cargo cult. A lot of it's people say, "Oh yeah, do this because this makes your videos, like, you know, do better." And does it really? Fuck knows, right? Fuck knows if you know, like, you know, there's some other thought that you should go through your go through all your videos and bleep out the F word, right? You know, does that make your video do more numbers? Maybe, you know, it definitely keeps you monetized more, but there's all these little
but
things that people don't really know.
I really didn't.
And so the result is people will just exercise the abundance of caution.
Like, it's spreading, especially, like, I started seeing some streamers, like, you know, agreeing with it and stuff. And it felt like it was going out of his sphere, and that really annoyed me.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I probably won't talk about it after today's
The accountability is really annoying, huh?
stream and the YouTube video.
I apologize for posting the sussy imposter emogus in response to.
It's
the
okay. It
tweets.
just destroyed my entire self-confidence, you know.
I didn't. The meaning was deliberately ambiguous. I did not mean. Well, wait. How did you interpret that?
My interpretation was like, oh no, like, Vaush liked me, and now he thinks I might be a Nazi.
Oh, okay. I'm really sorry. I did not mean to do that.
No, it's okay. I'm just like, I'm super oversensitive, especially like with the social anxiety thing. Like, I think I messaged you once. Also, I was like anxious, that you hated me or something because of something another streamer said, to me. I don't know if you remember. I messaged you on Twitter.
Remember that, yes.
Yeah. So sometimes like I just build up an idea in my brain, and then I just need like a second of affirmation, and I'm good.
I get that. I mean, in a way, I do something similar to that. I'm really quick to write off people who I feel like might dislike me based on minor interactions.
Oh, now this is funny, dude.
So
you see how fragile this dude is.
It's a kind of it's like a preemptive.
And this is the thing, Vaush. There's no shame in vulnerability, other than trying to cover it up. You know, other than trying to run from it, other than trying to cope, right? There's the shame, but the vulnerability itself, that's just being real. You know, and if we can trust each other, if we can forge bonds of trust with each other, if we can reach out and actually show solidarity to people who've been mistreated time and time again by the larger left movement, then, you know, we can have that world where, you know, you can show your vulnerability without worrying that it's going to be taken advantage of, right? But, you know, everything that you're doing in this sphere is pushing that day further down the line. One thing for this is that at least he doesn't have the same Haas, the flirting. Oh God, no! God, no!
I don't have
the Haas
to feel
flirting
bad
energy
about this at all if I just write them off beforehand. I've done that to a ton of people. You know, like chat even makes fun of me for it. Where I'll say like, "Oh, I like this person. They probably wouldn't like me," or "I'm pretty sure this person doesn't like me." But
it's like self-preservation technique.
Exactly. You preemptively distance yourself from the perceived and actual.
I mean, chat. Spoiler: he knows this isn't adaptive. He knows this isn't exactly healthy.
Emotional.
Like, he is somewhat self-aware.
A person disliking you.
How this sounds.
And in doing so, you make it more difficult to sincerely be upset if it turns out they actually do dislike you.
A lot of streamers are emotionally wounded people, and sometimes those emotional wounds get projected, you know, as toxicity. I mean, it's just a compounding problem, and there's not a lot of people looking to make it better. There's not a lot of people, you know, looking to change that system. There's not a lot of people really like striving. It's not
always like the
for understanding
thing to do. Like,
and this debate culture doesn't help that at all. This debate culture loves the drama, loves the fucking conflict, loves the pain, loves the damage, loves the, you know, lies. You know, if you can make a lie seem like truth, oh, good on you. That was great optics. You know, it's
in a way that's not.
It's a sickness
super bad.
in a lot of ways.
It's really useful as a public figure.
It can be useful.
But
probably oftentimes
also unhealthy
it's
in
bad.
some areas.
Yeah, it is often bad. It's kind of self-sabotage almost, isn't it?
Yeah, because you probably miss out on some really cool connections and good friends that you can meet.
Listen, I've had
it makes you look
like
as well.
Fucking enough of this.
At least it would at my size.
Right here.
Maybe not so much at your size, but at my size.
Let's go.
Saying like, "Ooh, I like this person. They probably wouldn't like me," is essentially a call out. I always forget that.
Let's try BadEmpanada 2. Nope, that's BadEmpanada. Oh my god. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, this is BadEmpanada's response to this video. We started with BadEmpanada, we're going to end with BadEmpanada. It's a short video, just BadEmpanada responding to this stream. So
Vaush platformed an actual pro-colonialism Zionist to attack me. That's right. He not only invited her onto his stream to allow her to vent about my criticisms of her for hours straight, but also accepted absolutely everything that she said uncritically. I've already responded to some of the lies that she told during that stream in another video, which you'll find linked in the description, and you can see pretty clearly there that she was never even remotely clip-chimped or...
Yeah, the discourse with Vaush isn't really, like, you know, anything in the way of proof or discourse, right? It's just Vaush ratifying her claims and little more.
Taken out of context as she told Vaush, which she unfortunately accepted uncritically. And my video outlining this was out a full 12 hours before Vaush's clip on this was uploaded. So yeah, Pretty disappointing. Regardless, the personal grudges here are not even remotely what matters to me most. Israel-Palestine is simply the defining global geopolitical issue of our time. Israel is absolutely unambiguously a settler colonial state which was built on land stolen in living memory. Anyone who supports the existence of Israel, who believes that its settlers have a right to self-determination in this land which they invaded and split with no consent from the people who lived there beforehand, is fundamentally an enemy of the global left on the same level as, say, a white nationalist. And that is no exaggeration. And I think that Vaush would actually agree with me on that if I put it to him in that way in a one-on-one conversation. Now, make no mistake, the person who he invited on to attack me is a Zionist. She supports absolutely everything that I just outlined. So that Vaush was willing to invite a Zionist onto his stream, and this was not the first time, who fundamentally upholds one of the greatest injustices of the 20th century, and certainly the greatest ongoing injustice of our age, that's not just disappointing. That's negligence. Zionists have enough of a platform without being given a platform to present themselves positively on a huge channel that identifies as left. The only reason that you and I have to invite them onto our channels, regardless of our differences, because in this issue we at least are supposed to agree, is to attack them and embarrass them in the same way that we would a white nationalist, because that's what they are. But it's worse than that. I
mean, like, some of the way that this is framed sounds kind of bombastic, but I'm gonna say that, like, the point largely holds, right? That it's ridiculous how many leftists are willing to work with right-wingers on these issues with you know, just no kind of self-awareness of the fact that, like, you know, you're supposed to be involved in, you know, leftist projects, and yet these sort of, you know, bonds of convenience, bonds of clout chasing, bonds of you know, sort of, you know, that are formed by the debate bro culture, right? Because when you have a debate, you need somebody in opposition. You don't want to, you know, necessarily interact with creators that you agree with, because you can't have those, you know, high drama interactions with those people, right? So you're actually kind of motivated to make alliances with the right, and this has become a problem. Like, look, I'll put it to you in an even worse way, okay? There are some websites out there that like, you know, do harassment that's even worse than what we've been talking about, okay? And, you know, there's one really large right-wing website that, like that, right? Lefties have been seen recently retweeting people from that website that I think everybody knows is up to no good, when it's people that they hate on the left. These interpersonal beefs between leftists spur people to find common cause with right-wingers. And look, there's no excuse for that. Once you've done that, once you've crossed that rubric, you've shown yourself for what you are. You've shown that it's not ideology that's got you here. When you join in a right-wing up against a leftist creator because you got some interpersonal beef with her, you can't call yourself a leftist anymore. All you are is a fucking tool. And I don't care if it's because you're negligent and you just heard the person that you think is bad, or if you actually looked into it and you decided you don't care. You suck. And nobody should take you seriously after that.
This Zionist on to attack me. Apparently, his need to attack someone who's got an intimate beef with is more important than not running interference for an actual Zionist in front of his massive audience. It's simply disappointing. Again, this is the defining issue of our time, and people like this merit nothing less than complete deplatforming, at least in any remotely left space. Settler colonialism in the 21st century cannot be allowed to have a voice anywhere. So to Vaush, I'll gladly come on your stream anytime and explain very clearly, with non-clip chimped evidence, exactly how your Zionist friend here was lying to you. We're talking about someone who uses Nazi-esque Lebensraum rhetoric regarding the room and space that Israel has for its settlers here. It's not really that complicated. And I can prove that to you as well, don't worry. I'd also love to talk to you about just how fundamentally wrong it is that you would platform someone like this in such a non-confrontational way. You've had some trouble grasping settler colonialism recently, and Israel-Palestine is the perfect example that we could use to help you and your audience understand it a bit better. At the very least, if you're willing to invite an act...
I like that BadEmpanada, although this sounds like drama, BadEmpanada is focused on the discourse here, right? Is focused on maybe a teachable moment. I'm not so sure it'll be a teachable moment, but it'll at least be an object lesson, even if, you know, Vaush's chat is completely intransigent about this issue. I also have a feeling, though, that maybe not. Yeah, I don't think Vaush will take BE up on this, because this is an issue where a lot of people in Vaush's community are, you know, when you actually come down to the issue of supporting, you know, Eris's claims or not, they're going to side with BE. And this is, yeah, I don't think this is good for Vaush. I don't think Vaush will accept this.
Actual Zionist onto your stream
That's my
to attack
prediction.
me, then I think it's only
could be
fair
wrong.
that you invite me, myself, directly. I'll be waiting.
Oh my god, he fucking called out, Vaush. Called out. What are you going to do, Vaush? My guess is that you don't say anything, right? My guess is that you tell everybody that BadEmpanada is toxic, or he's beyond the pale, or he's a tanky, or there's some other reason, there's some other disqualifying reason that you can't fucking talk to BE, or like platforming BE would be bad, even though you just platformed a fucking hardcore Zionist, right? But yeah, you're gonna make it like, no, BadEmpanada is the problem, like nocommentchick is the problem, but like the fucking yikes people I platform on the daily, not so much, not so bad. Anyway, chat, thank you so much for being here. This was a fun stream in spite of the stress of it. I don't know, somehow dealing with this shit is helping me deal with the trauma from what I've been through for the past 6 months, and I appreciate everybody who, like, when I get a little bit emotional is like there for me, because like I felt alone for a really long time, and to have people understand what I'm going through, it means a lot to me. So thank you. I'm gonna try to get on Twitch pretty soon here, and we're trying to finish Persona 2. We were almost done with the Oracle of Maya. We're just collecting a few more fusion spells, and then we're gonna go into the there's a silver river underneath the school that goes into a alien spaceship called Shabalba, in which we'll fight golden versions of our parents and sussy imposter versions of ourselves, much, you know, like my own life, you know, always fighting golden mommy and daddy and shadow Irene, right? But yeah, we're gonna finish this and hopefully get past those aliens this time, because we're gonna have those fusion spells to just light those aliens up when they come at us. So thank you so much. Remember to leave a like if you haven't already. Any kind of comments you have down there are also helpful. People forget to comment on a live stream. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you over on Twitch. Meow, 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 meow.